Good morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at. Welcome to Defense Diaries. I'm your host, Bob Mata, and we are back for day 6 of the Robert Tellis, Casper the Angry Murdery Ghost, Q-tip, whatever you want to call him. It's his trial. We're in the defense's case in chief. Short day yesterday, even though it felt like a long day. We only had 2 witnesses testify. Today, supposed to be the day. Today is supposed to be the day that little Bobby Tellis, or Tellez, depending on how you want to say it, gets on the stand and pleads his case. So that should be interesting. I mean, typically, anytime a defendant takes the stand, I don't care what the case is, it's pretty much appointment television and or streaming. It's always fascinating to watch, especially coming from my side of it. In terms of being a defense attorney, you'd look at the situation and, you know, it was a strong case by the state. You know, you typically go in to a case with a defendant with some maybe in terms of whether or not they're going to testify. And again, just want to make it abundantly clear, it is not the defense attorney's call whether or not he testifies. It is 100% his decision. That's it. No one else's. Now, obviously, his attorneys are giving him advice. If they think that it's a really bad idea, I'm sure they're saying that to him. If they think it's necessary, I'm sure they're saying that to him. So a lot of times when it's we'll take it as it comes situation, which is a fair amount of the time. You know, I mean, we typically, Allie and I would go into a trial and, you know, the discussions would obviously take place long before trial and leading into trial as to whether or not our guy was going to testify. We'd, of course, ask, you know, are you feeling like you want to testify in this thing? And, you know, they'll say, I don't know, you know, maybe, I don't know. You know, I mean, the concept behind it is that if you get on the stand as a defendant, because like I was saying yesterday, look, I get it. Everyone on the planet is of the mindset that, look, if I didn't do something, there's no way in hell I'm not getting on the stand and professing my innocence. That's just not the way it works in the criminal justice system. That is just not reality, because one thing that's misconstrued by the jury, one thing that you say that's misconstrued can get you found guilty. Period. You know, I mean, the state is coming with a case. They're coming with their theory. They're presenting their evidence. And if the defendant gets up there, or, you know, their demeanor is off, or if they make a face that the jury thinks is inappropriate, it can be anything. It's a huge, huge risk to put the defendant on the stand at trial, just because there's so many things that can go wrong. And frankly, when you're talking about a trial, you're talking about evidence. And a defendant getting on the stand is certainly testimonial, but it's not necessarily evidence. So you have to look at it like how much when you weigh it against the potential of you blowing the entire case up, what is the cost benefit analysis of that? And it almost always comes where the cost way outweighs the benefit. So, but this is a case where they have very strong evidence and they're trying to put forth a theory that is out there. Certainly it's out there. It just in light of like I don't think it's out there if you watched our live last night with Margaret Byrne and Bill Dorsch. If you're still of the mindset that the cops never do dirty and that prosecutors never do dirt, go and watch the live from last night. Educate yourself about the reality. Quit listening to podcasts that make it sound like every prosecutor's a hero, every cop's a hero, because they're not. Like the Guevara thing is next level horrific. 45 guys have been exonerated from this cop that put 55 people, innocent people, in prison on murder beefs, using his power, his station, his authority, that gun and that badge to close cases by intimidating his confidential informants, by intimidating kids that were on his beat in his neighborhood, telling them he'd throw cases on them if they don't point the finger at somebody. It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable circumstance. So, I'm trying to get that thing pushed out to the world. As of like right now, it's got 1,000 views, which is to me is insane. Like everybody's watching the same things over and over and over again. We're putting out some new content for you that no one really knows this story. And I highly recommend, and I'm asking, go watch it. Educate yourselves on what is going on in our criminal justice system, what the reality of it is, because it's not what we're seeing on TV, on Discovery ID, on Oxygen. That's not what it is. Because you know what? It's harder to be on the side of, oh, this guy might not have committed this heinous act. Everybody wants justice for the victims. Everybody does. Everybody. So it's a bitter pill to swallow because we have so much faith, at least we did, in the cops and in the prosecutors that they're going to do their job right. Couch juror, you were there last night for the first 20 minutes. I'm talking about last night's live with Margaret Byrne and her upcoming documentary called Fighting Time. But look, just get all sides of the story. Like if you love watching trials and you're really interested in our system and how it really works, do yourself a favor and check it out. It's worth your time. Bill Dorsch is an absolute hero. Bill Dorsch is what we want every cop to be, and unfortunately, it's not even close. I mean, the guy sacrificed his career and literally put his life at risk by whistleblowing on that dirty ass cop that was putting innocent men. Like these guys did 20, 25, 30 years, did their full sentences on murders that they did not commit. Chicago, more likely than not, the city of Chicago is going to be paying $1 billion to these innocent men that lost their lives, that lost the ability to watch their children grow up, that were ripped away from their families, and they spent decades in a cage. So, there's a reason I'm passionate about what I do and what I say. And like I've said a million times, I stand behind every single thing that I've ever put out in terms of content. And anybody who's wants to debate me on things, I'm always here for it. I back down from no one because you know what? I'm on the right side of it. It's that simple. It's not just Chicago, your mom. It's everywhere. There is corruption everywhere. So when you get cases like, the Karen Reed thing where, you've got this whole concept of a frame up and people are just dismissing it offhand. Like, I have no idea what went on over there. And frankly, like I just didn't want to get sucked into that thing in terms of because it got so ugly. But the fact of the matter is that frame ups happen. Cops get it wrong a lot. And sometimes cops do dirty to close cases. So, whatever. I'm off my soapbox. So in my personal life today, Nanook escaped. He does this thing. So I didn't get him out for his morning walk today. And we've got like off of our deck, we've got arborvitaes. They're kind of like the evergreens, but they have that like almost triangular shape. They get real big. So at any rate, like we've got them on a long lead because we do not have an invisible fence, which I need to get. Like it's time. So here, what he does is he'll purposefully, and I'm talking, it's like a 50-foot lead. So we want him to be able to wander around. So what he does is he'll circle himself around the trunk of one of our larger arborvitaes. And so that he's stuck. So, he's stuck and then he starts crying. Right. And he does it so many times that I just can't walk him back out. Be like, oh, just come on, buddy. You just got a little, he'll go around 4 or 5 times. So I literally have to unhook him. And where I've just, and I have to grab his collar. So that's what I did. I hear him crying out there. I run out there. I'm like, all right, come on, buddy. I see that he's really, really worked it. And this is his move. This isn't like this is the first time he's done it. This is the shit that he pulls because he's a smart dude. So I go in, I grab him, and like I go to re-grip his collar. And when I do, he takes off about 4 steps up on the deck and then spins around and he's gone. And the dog is fast as hell. I've taken videos of him where, because our dog loves cheese and Nook loves cheese. Like he loves white American cheese. It is his favorite cheese in the whole world. His favorite snack, surprisingly, over like meat, which is crazy to me, but the dude loves cheese. So I'll get the deli bag of the Land O'Lakes white American out and I'll take the car. And he's got a couple of spots that he goes. Like in our subdivision, we have kind of like a little pond/lake. I don't know. It's bigger than a pond. It's pretty big. Like I'll walk him around that pretty much daily. But he's got a couple of houses that he always lands on it, and we have an air tag on him. So like I checked the air tag, which is hit or miss. The air tag is not great. Like I use it like, and it doesn't update. Like it's still got him in the same damn place that he was at. So and like I've got the live starting in minutes. So I'm like, all right, I got to go try it. So like this happens at like 11:52 my time. So we're 28 minutes out. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have time to do this. The whistles don't work with him often. He is a runner. He needs exercise. He's just a dude that has to be out there getting his run on. and like, and if he hasn't had his walk, he's not putting up with it. He's like, you know what? I'm going to dip out and I'm going to run. Good luck catching me, sucker. Like I cannot catch. He's way too fast. But what he does, he's a face licker. It's like I love it. Like when I come home, he gives me a hug and licks my face. But like strangers that don't know that he's the friendliest dog in the world, and he's like 75 pounds. He's like a medium large dog. He's a big guy and he's super athletic. You could be 7'5", and this dude can lick your face. Like he's got hops. He's got mad hops. So at any rate, I'm out there driving. Allie was in court. I'm like, she hits me up. I sound all depressed when she calls me. Like the dog got away, So like I go check the last time that the air tag logged in, and I ring the bell. I'm like, did you happen to wrangle my dog? Because if he runs to a stranger, like they'll be able to get him because he can't help himself. He loves to give people hugs and kisses, so he'll always run up to a stranger, and then they'll snag him. And so the problem with my dog collar is that his identification, because our last one fell off. It was metal. It was like the one that we got when we rescued him when he was a puppy. So that thing like fell off. So I ordered one on Amazon and they screwed up my phone number. The last digit's wrong. So, but the address is correct. So, people, if they wrangle them, then they have to go through the pain in the butt of walking them back to our house, which I always feel super guilty about. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's like I checked. So, I'm driving around the neighborhood. I haven't even laid eyes on this dude at this point. So, but he knows how to get back. Like my dog has marked every tree in our massive subdivision on our walks. Like every single tree, this dude is like taking a little squirt on. He marks it. He's like, so he always can find his way home. I just worry about the cars, obviously. So that's my tale. That's my Nanook tale. So the goose is on the loose.
Why can't I find his thingamajig?
It's under devices.
I did under Find My iPhone.
Yeah, and Find My iPhone. You go to the
So
items. Go to items.
items.
And it's where's Nanook? Oh, he's moved. He's at 754 Pembridge. I went to the last address. He was not there. What's a FI collar? What is that? Is that like a chip? He's chipped. Like he's got a chip. They chipped him when the animal hospital they rescued him from. They chipped him when he was a pup. But really the only thing I worry about is the cars. He knows how to get home. He's not going to leave the subdivision. I mean, he's 5 years old. We've been living here. He knows the spot. Oh, whistle is a GPS that goes on the collar. Oh, Afton, is it better than? It's got to be better than the AirTag. The AirTag, it's like with the AirTag, I'm like, all right, like these dudes that are creeping on their women or the women that are creeping on their men, and they put the AirTag. I'm like, those things work like shit. I'm like, they're very, very hit or miss. They really are. It's like they're just, and they don't update. It's not like a constant like updating thing. It's like it'll pop in every 15 or 20 minutes, it seems like. So Allie's on it, Lisa. She'll wrangle him. She's a professional Nanook wrangler. Actually, it's the kids. The kids are the best. Cameron and Scarlett both can get them pretty quick. I'm like, how'd you do that? Yeah, Jay, they just don't work, dude. It's like they give you a general idea, but like it gave me an exact address. I drove over there at like 12:10, like 10 minutes before the live. And the woman happened to be in her garage. I'm like, oh, and she was vacuuming. I didn't want to startle her. So I was kind of like the front of her driveway waving my hands like, hello. And I'm like, did you happen to see my dog? It says he's here. And she's like, no, I didn't see him. So Goose is on the loose. Allie will find him. Yeah, I mean, they work, I guess. Like, I don't understand. Like, if you have to be on Wi-Fi, I don't know if he has to be near a Wi-Fi for it to hit. Like, there's something about it. Like, in order for it to, because when Allie and I I forget where we were, and my dad was here, and my he's on a walker, and we had tried to set up a contraption so that he could get in a Nook on and off leash. And we've got the trial up, y'all. I think I'm live, so we won't miss 1 second of the riveting Robert Tellis trial. Thais. I'm gonna go with Thais. But it's just like the thing. Like I think it has to connect to a Wi-Fi. So all right. What are you guys thinking? What do you guys think about? Is there any way that Tellez sells this concept to the jury? Is it beyond that? Like Allie woke up this morning. She's like, I can't, like the first thing she's like, I can't believe the jury didn't ask that witness who saw the man in the getup, like if he had the same, like, was it like, is it the guy at the table? Which is she's right. Like how no one asked. The state didn't ask, the defense attorney didn't ask, and the jury didn't ask. The second witness yesterday, who was an eyewitness who saw somebody that was in the same getup that the killer was seen to be in, on the 28th of August, a few days before, 4 or 5 days before. And so, Tasha, you're giving it a 1% chance. I mean, there's always a chance, right? There's always a chance. So, I look, I feel like I'm betraying my trade by, just declaring people guilty before the defense has put their case on. But man, this dude, like, it's just, and there's, like I was telling you guys, there's a Twitter account that follows me that is clearly defense oriented. I don't think they're an attorney, but I think that they're very, very adamant about the fact that the system is definitely corrupt, which it is. I mean, let's get it straight. I mean, when it works, it's magnificent. When it doesn't, it's horrific. And we get cases where justice is truly served, and we're all happy for that. And we need that. It's so important. But there's the other side of it that we can't pretend doesn't exist. So that's why I'm always telling people, look, we got to watch the trial. We got to see the evidence come in. Need Mega. I love when Nita Megapine is in. Are you in court again today, Mega? He said a lot more national media in court. Well, it's because the word is on the street. He's testifying. I mean, this is like, let's be honest. Like, it's been a slow burn trial. Like, frankly, just in terms of enjoying the trial itself, like the rewatch of Charlie Adelson's been more interesting than this trial. It's just been kind of a slow burn. Been no like real exciting things that have gone on. The state was very methodical in putting their testimony on and putting their evidence on, and boop, they were done quick. And but hopefully today's the difference. Today should be the day where we're going to get some fireworks. Allie's calling me. Hold on, guys.
Came home.
What? He says he's home?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, maybe. All right, hold on, y'all. Dad's hold on, let me run down there. Prodigal son has returned. Yes. All right, love you, bye. All right, just in the nick of time. Look, the guy comes back, scratches on the door, all is good. I don't have to worry. I feel so much better that he's home. So I forgot what I was saying completely. So it probably wasn't important anyway. So thank you all for being here. We got a nice crowd in here. I love it. Love it. I appreciate you so much for hanging with us. Should be an interesting day. And if you're new to the case, judge takes a lot of breaks.
Does the state stipulate to the presence of the panel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Droszowicz?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may call your next witness.
Thank you. The defense calls Mr. Robert Aguero.
Oh, you're so close. Oh, close. All right, Robert Aguero. His lawyer refuses to use, like a Spanish pronunciation for anybody. I think that would be Aguero. You gotta roll your R's and your L's. Man. Let's go.
Please step up into the witness stand. Remain standing, raise your right hand, face the clerk, please.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Please
Whoa.
state and spell your
Whoa.
first name for the record.
Did he almost bite it right
Robert Aguero, R-O-B-E-R-T-A-G-U-E-R-O.
there? Aguero.
Thank you. Mr. Aguero, how are you employed? I own my own company, which is solely focused on cell phone forensics and cell tower data analysis.
All right.
If you could please tell us a little bit about your history in reference to this subject area.
I started this business about 15 years ago. I've received training from Celebrite and certification from Celebrite on extracting data, analyzing data from cell phone. I've also received training from SecureView. That's another manufacturer of different software. As far as the cell tower analysis, I've received training from GeoTime. That's the software that I use for mapping on the proper method for mapping data. I've received various trainings from different companies, all dealing with the mapping and analysis of cell phone data. And I attend yearly seminars to keep up with the latest changes in both technologies.
Prior to your owning Data Pro, have you worked with law enforcement?
Yes, I spent 15 years in law enforcement. Half the time I worked in patrol, the other half I worked detectives. And then I retired after 15 years on medical retirement.
Where are you currently residing?
I currently reside in the state of Washington.
Have you been called upon in other cases to give expert testimony concerning cell phone extraction?
Yes, I have.
You were contacted by the defense in the state of Nevada versus Robert Tellis, correct?
Yes.
And did you prepare a report as a result of your being contracted by the defense in this
Yes.
case? Did you prepare a PowerPoint in reference to your evaluation and analysis of data that was given to you?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, at this time, we'd move for the admission by stipulation of Defense Exhibit A3.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Permission to publish. And this is, Clark County Superior Court, but I mean, it's state of Nevada, it's the court, this matter.
Yes.
Points of interest were 7216 Bronze Circle, correct?
Correct. Yes.
9624 Spanish Steps.
Correct.
Planet Fitness located on West Charleston.
Correct. Yes.
And a Planet Fitness located on 230 South Decatur.
Correct. Yes.
Awesome.
The data that you analyzed concerned cell phone number 702-533-1858, correct?
Yes.
And how was it that you verified that the information that we're about to address is tied to this cell phone number?
Well, when you look at the call detail records or all the records that I analyze, they either have the phone number or they have the international mobile subscriber identity that identifies the subscriber. So those all matched to this number.
Turn your attention to page number 3. If you could explain to the jury, what is this that we're looking at?
In this page, we're looking at the T-Mobile mediation report, which is referred to as a call detail records. And that is showing you the cell towers that are used for voice transactions. Now, the T-Mobile mediation report only covered August 1st, 2022 through August 16th, 2022. So when you see a blue dot, that is the location of the cell tower. And then the shaded area would be the sector coverage. And again, the shaded area is only a visual aid to help you see the area. It is not an actual propagation map. So it's just a visual aid.
And if you could explain what a propagation map is.
A radio frequency propagation map is when you're interested in a specific tower and a specific antenna, and you want to find out what the coverage is. You can either request it from the phone company or take specialized equipment, go out to the area, and you measure the radio frequencies from the tower. And then you can actually draw a map that shows the actual coverage of a specific sector.
I'll get a little bit ahead of ourselves. There came a point in time where you were asked to review pen register records, correct?
Yes.
And that would have been records beginning at or about August 7th, 2022?
Yes.
But at this point in time, just to give reference, you didn't review any pen register records. And I'll tell you they didn't exist from August 1st, 2022 to August 16th, 2022.
Yes, at this point on this map, the only item we're looking at is the T-Mobile mediation report, which again, that just details voice transactions that are made by the phone.
In reference to this X right here, bronze circle, you don't have any communication or any pings, basically would be the word, with any cell phone towers close to that.
That's correct. There's between August 1st and August 16th, there were no towers used that were near the brown circle location.
However, we do have pings, or we have communication with cell towers in the area of 9624 Spanish Steps Lane, Las Vegas,
Yes,
as well as two Planet Fitness locations. Fair to say?
correct, yes.
The one is Planet Fitness is 8945 West Charleston Boulevard.
Yes,
We have some that are right next to that, correct?
yes, we do.
And that would indicate that the cell phone tower would be in proximity to that address.
Yeah, that tells us that that address is within coverage of this tower, so that's definitely one address where the phone could be at. Now, this data is not specific enough to pinpoint a specific location for you, just a general area.
Just the general area. Same question as to this other Planet Fitness, the address being 230 South Decatur Boulevard in Las Vegas. We do have pings near that area as well.
Correct, yes.
And again, you can't say that that means that person is specifically there, but it's a cell phone tower that's in proximity to that address.
Correct, yes.
And just so we're clear too, when you have these pings or this communication between a cell phone device and a tower, there may be various towers that are communicating or exchanging data, phone calls, text. It will show that there's activation or communication, but they don't always necessarily speak with the closest or communicate with the closest cell tower.
Correct. The cell phone will communicate with the tower that has the strongest, clearest signal. So the strongest, clearest signal can be one that's close by, but quite often if you're in a busy area or if the network will level the usage out, so you could be next to one tower, but yet your phone will connect to another tower that's a little further away. Again, it goes to the cleanest, clearest signal for connections.
If I could turn your attention to page 4. If you could please explain to us the significance of this analysis.
This is the same data we saw on the previous page. I just zoomed in so we can better see the various addresses that we've been talking about. But it's the exact same data that we saw before it was zoomed out. Now we're just zoomed into a smaller area.
You know, in this case, in the lower portion of the exhibit, it appears that we have these fanning out images. If you could
Yes.
explain to us what those are and what those signify in this exhibit.
Again, when you see the blue dot, that's the location of the cell tower. When you see a little pie wedge going out, that represents a sector. Typically, most towers have a tower is just basically a tall structure or a building, and then on top you'll see a bunch of antennas all around it. The way that the carriers lay out the network, they divide them into sectors, which is if you take a full circle around a tower, you divide it into 3 equal shapes, 3 pie wedges. Each one of those would be a sector. On some of them, you may see like a full circle going all around. That's because either a sector was not provided for us, the orientation of the sector, or it could be an omnidirectional antenna. So when you don't see a sector, it means it could be anywhere around the tower. When you see the pie wedges, then the phone is somewhere where the blue shading is located. And again, these are just visual aids. They don't represent the actual coverage for each sector.
And again, turning your attention to the 2 Planet Fitness locations, again, we have cell phone towers that were communicating in the area of this subject telephone number.
Yes.
This cell phone device.
Yes.
Turning your attention to slide number 5. Again, if you could explain to us the significance of this slide and your findings.
Yes, I was asked about the 2 Planet Fitness and when were the towers near connected. And then we see the one on the right-hand side of the map that was connected on August 9th, 2022. And then we have the time and the incoming or outgoing. It just denotes whether there's an incoming call or outgoing call. On the left side of the other Planet Fitness, there's 2 towers that were in close proximity. So I put a blue circle highlighting the 2 towers, and then those are all the dates shown there that the phone connected to those 2 towers.
And when a phone connects to a tower, if you could explain to us the various ways in which it does connect to the tower.
Well, typically a phone is high-priced walkie-talkie, for lack of a better term. So when you hit send on your phone, it uses radio frequencies and sends a signal to the tower with the clearest, strongest signal. The tower will connect to the phone. You get authenticated as a phone user with that carrier, and then your call gets routed to whoever you're calling. And as long as you're connected, then there'll be two-way communication. Now, the records we have in this pages, they will show typically the starting cell tower. That's what I'm mapping out here. So if you spend 10 minutes on a phone call, we have the starting tower. If you're moving around, you could hit other towers. However, they're not recorded in the records we have. So we're only being shown the tower that the initial connection made to the phone.
Turning your attention to slide 6, the pen register. Obviously, you were provided with information obtained from law enforcement concerning a pen register, correct?
Yes.
Could you explain just briefly what a pen register is?
Basically, that's when law enforcement gets a court order, goes to the phone company, and then they track all the calls that are made and text message, data usage by that phone during a specific time frame. And then what we're provided is a spreadsheet with the date, time, and cell towers that were connected.
Turning your attention to slide page number 7, if you could explain to us the significance and what your analysis was concerning this data that you were provided, specifically on August 28th, 2022.
For this page, I was asked to look at August 28th, 2022 for all of the connections shown on the pen register. And for that date, there was only 2 cell towers that were used. One is located to the northwest of the Spanish Steps location. And then on that tower, we have, excuse me, a breakdown. There were data sessions that were recorded between 12:39 a.m. all the way down to 11:35 p.m. There was 2 voice calls that were made, and the times are listed there. And there was 1 text message at 1:50 p.m. that connected with that tower. The other tower that was used is to the southeast of the Spanish Step location. And all of the connections to that tower were data sessions. There were no voice calls or text messages. So those are all data sessions. And these are the only 2 towers that were connected during that day.
So it's my understanding that based upon your testimony, this is all the phone usage based upon the records that were provided to you that had occurred on August 28th, 2022. Yes. We have the data sessions. We have, apparently there was 2 voice communications and 1 text message.
Correct.
And that was for the entire day of that day.
Yes.
If I told you that this was a Sunday, any reason to disagree with me?
No.
Is it fair to say that based upon your analysis of this cell phone data, it appears that the cell phone and presumably its user were at this address, 9624 Spanish Steps?
Okay. Again, this data gives you the general area where the phone could be, so there's no way of knowing if it was located right at Spanish Steps, but that is a location where it could have been. It could also be anywhere in that general area. Again, the data is not precise enough to pinpoint a specific address.
You don't see any other cell phone communication with any cell phone towers outside of this area in these 2 cell phone towers, fair to say?
Correct, yes.
Turning your attention now to the pen register data that was provided to you concerning September 2nd, 2022. If you'd explain to us what we're looking at here on page 9 or slide 9 of your analysis.
Here we're looking at the pen register data for September 2nd, 2022. And again, all of the blue dots are cell towers that were used on that day for either voice, text, or data.
Again, we have cell phone towers in the area of 9624 Spanish Steps, correct?
Correct, yes.
And we also have the cell phone towers that are in the area of the Planet Fitness, being at 8945 West Charleston Boulevard.
That is correct, yes.
It appears that we have no cell phone or no data communication, either outgoing text, ingoing text, or data, the automatic communication between the cell phone and the.
I wish they'd give a little more detail on this. Like, where are the towers near Bronze Circle? Which, if you don't know, that's where Jeff German's house is, the victim. And like, what are the times? Like, this is a really shitty piece of demonstrative evidence, in my estimation. I don't know if he's going to put an overlay on it, but we need to. It's not giving me much.
The tower over at the Planet Fitness over on Decatur, correct?
Not on this date, no.
And nor do we have any cell phone towers that were activated or communicated with or pinged on the 7216 Bronze Circle address.
That is correct, yes.
Turning your attention to this slide, page 10, slide 10, if you could explain to us what we were looking at here.
What we're going to see in the next few pages is the date broken down in smaller segments. This first segment covers between 1:34 and 6:44 a.m., where the one tower northwest of the home is being utilized. And again, all of the data connections are for data sessions. There were no
blow it up.
calls or text
Can't
messages.
see it.
Just
Blow
so
it
we're
up.
clear when we're looking at this list, I mean, because we have a data session at 1:34:14 a.m., that doesn't mean the user of this phone is on the phone. That just means that the phone is communicating or exchanging data with the towers.
Yes, data sessions can be active usage or passive usage. Active usage is when you're going on Facebook, Instagram, searching the internet, doing something actively on the phone. And then you have passive usage where the phone will connect to the towers on its own in the background. That's just a normal part of the operation of how cell phones work. As long as it's turned on, it is constantly communicating with cell towers.
So a person could be sound asleep at 1:34 a.m. and obviously we have this data because that's what the cell phone is doing independently.
Correct, yes.
We don't need to see the defense
I could
attorney.
turn your
blow up.
attention
Oh my
to
God.
slide number 11.
Now that we have some
Discuss
actual
with
data,
us
we
your
can't see it.
findings in reference to this slide.
Oh, thank
Here we're looking
you.
at the next time frame is from 6:45 to 6:50 a.m. And we see 4 different towers that are being utilized. The times are listed for each tower. And again, all of these are data sessions. So none of these are voice or text message.
So we don't have any active usage on the part of the person that presumably has the cell phone, if they do.
Correct. With data session, it can all be background. There's no way of knowing from these records whether it's active or background.
Slide page number 12, if you could explain to us your analysis concerning this information.
Here we go to the next time frame. This is between 7:09 a.m. and 3:47 p.m. And again, we have the same 2 towers that we've seen used before, one to the northwest and one to the southeast of the Spanish Steps location. The one to the northwest, on the left side, we see all of the data sessions. Again, those could be background or it could be active. And then there were several text message and 3 voice calls that utilized that tower. And then on the lower right tower, we have, again, a breakdown.
Okay, there's a pretty huge gap there when we know that Jeff German was killed. Like, so it looks like it's like 8:48 a.m. and then we go to 2. There better be another tower. Otherwise, this guy's putting on evidence that's sealing his guy's fate.
Out of 1 text message, 3 voice calls, and then the rest are all data sessions that connected with the tower on the lower right.
I could turn your attention to slide page 13. If you could please discuss with us what we're viewing here.
Here we're looking at the next time frame is from 4 p.m. to 4:20 p.m. During this time frame, again, we have 5 cell towers. The one at the lower part of the map is for a voice call, so we know that's something that the phone connected to the tower. The others are all data sessions, which they could be background data sessions or active data sessions.
Based upon your review of the cell tower, cell phone communication based upon this pen register, is it fair to say that the person who had this phone was in the area of the Planet Fitness?
Sustained.
Does it appear that the cell phone was in proximity or in the area of the Planet Fitness?
Yes, that's definitely one of the locations where it could have been.
And that is consistent with the findings in your previous slides as well.
Yes,
Again, you had testified that it's not necessarily the closest cell tower that basically we have a ping, but it's the strongest.
correct.
And that would be consistent, again, with what we see here. That this person was in, or that the cell phone was in the area of both the Spanish.
I mean, this guy has to have some information that is better than this. Like, this information completely puts TELUS in a position to be able to kill Jeff Gervin. Like, there's a huge gap. It goes from eight something to 2. Like, I think German like died somewhere between like 11:40 and noon. What? They're oh my God. There's got to be more. There has to be more.
Steps home, as well as the Planet Fitness on Charleston.
Yes, the tower on the lower right of the map, that one is, when I measured, is almost equal distance to the Spanish Steps and Planet Fitness. So either location could be a location where the phone was found, or somewhere in between in that general area.
Here we have then much later in the day, again, we have, it appears, data sessions. If you could please just briefly explain this to us.
Yeah, here we're going through the end of the day from 4:27 p.m. to 11:55 p.m. And we have 3 different towers that are being utilized, and they're all for data sessions.
Again, we don't have active use where perhaps a user, we're having texts that are being sent, phone calls that are being made.
Correct. Yeah, this data that we have, that we're provided with, there's no way of knowing if anyone was actually using the phone or if it was just sitting there with background connections.
If you could explain to us on this next slide, the Celebrite locations and what the basis was for your analysis and what it is that we are viewing here.
Here, I was provided a Celebrite, which is a forensic software for extracting data from the phone. I was asked to look for any locations available for the year of 2022. And when I pulled the locations for 2022, this is what came up. Now, in this case, the dot represents the up.
Thank you.
Oh, what do we got? A sidebar? Okay. Jay got to do one on the rewatch today. So, because we know what time it is. And this is a Jabo Nation original, just so you guys know. It's always a tip of the cap to Jay. I love doing it with Jay because we both do our head bopping. So I miss when Jay's not here to do that with me. I have to say I'm at a little bit of a loss for words. Like, so Dizzy, what time was the time of death that they estimate that Jeff German was killed? I thought it was around like 11 something a.m. So 12 whatever doesn't necessarily help him either. He doesn't live a great distance away, and we know that he went back home. So I don't know. I mean, there's got to be more. Like, leaving that kind of gap in time. I mean, it's not closing windows. Like, if you're attacking a timeline as the defense, you are trying to close windows. You're trying to alibi your guy, saying, okay, well, look, this is the time the state has locked themselves in on terms of when they believe that the victim was killed. And my guy couldn't have done it because he was here. His phone was here. Not only was his phone here, he was using it. He was accessing towers. It was pinging off towers. He was clearly using his phone. It wasn't as if he just left his phone at home. So I don't know.
Short recess. During this recess,
Oh my God.
Discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in a way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication or social media. Read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary. Do any research, consult dictionaries, internet, or reference materials. Do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or form or express any opinion regarding the case until it's finally submitted to you. Will be in recess for 10 minutes.
Thank you. All right. Next hearing.
I'll tell you what, Judge Levitt, every time that she excuses the jury, reads that same thing, which is good. That's good. Oh, there's my girl. There is my girl. It's good. So what do you guys think? Like, am I missing something here? Y'all tell me in the chat. Am I missing something, or is this not quite adding up? I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something huge here because this evidence thus far does not seem to be helping the Q-tip. I don't know. Like, I mean, Angry Cat he looked concerned to me.
Wait,
Oh, good. So for sidebarring it, didn't they just excuse the jury? That why are they sidebar? It drives me nuts when they sidebar when the jury is out of the room. The whole purpose of a sidebar is because the jury's in the room. The jury's not in the room. They just have the argument so we can all hear it. We want to hear. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. What are they complaining about? The state is obviously saying this is some bullshit. This guy mispronounces every Spanish name. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, how can he mispronounce his client's name? Like, repeatedly. I mean, the cop that we all thought was pretty great, the state's last witness, I believe she was pronouncing it properly, Tejas. She's like, we had a whole conversation about how to pronounce his name. Oh, I thought he was calling the Q-tip up. It's like, can I have the Q-tip come up and hear this? No such luck. I mean, technically, the defendant has a right to go up there, but you just never see it. I'm trying to think if we've ever had a situation where we've had the defendant step up in a sidebar. I don't think so, but I mean, technically, they have the right to do it, but you know, for court security and all that kind of stuff, they frown on it. They frown on it. So then you got to go back to the table and explain to your client what the hell's going on. Oh, there she goes. What'd she say? 10 minutes? Anybody catch it? I don't know. Leslie, you too grumpy? I was pretty grumpy this morning too. And I got like super grumpy when the dog escaped. I'm like, God damn it. But he came back. He's such a good guy. Such a good guy. Ooh, Alpha She-Wolf. Member for 7 months. OG, sorry you've been absent. You were here in spirit, first of all. And thank you for being a member for 7 months. I love that. We are so grateful to everybody that pays for memberships. And we are so grateful for all of you that hang with us consistently and for newcomers. We love you guys as well. Anybody who's in from Melanie Little's channel, we love you guys. Allie's hung a couple times with Mel. I thought they made great lives together. Like whenever Allie does a live with somebody, it's like people are like, oh, you guys should start a channel. I'm like what? Am I invisible here? I'm like, she's my partner. Like, what? You guys are trying to steal my partner? But no, seriously. And I especially love when Allie teams up with other powerful females because it's dope. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah, I saw, who did I see? So there's a lot. Yeah, it's way, way more crowded in there. And I wanted to ask Megapint, because like some of the days it's been pretty empty in the gallery. I'm curious, has Jeff Gurman had people there? I mean, the gallery's been like really, really empty. And I was just curious if Gurman has had family supporters there. It's hard to tell. So I'm curious if that's
unknown caller,
an actual thing. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so but I did see my homie Lauren Matthias of Hidden True Crime is there. They live in Vegas. And I was chatting with them the other night, which I'm excited. I'm going to be collabing on something with them soon. They were actually poking around wanting some intel on Delphi. So that would be cool. They like our coverage quite a bit on Delphi, which I respect. You know, they're bright individuals. So, and I think that they actually watch the content. So they actually know what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that because they're a great channel. I love them both. Like when the whole Gypsy Rose thing came out, like Dr. John and I were like literally like the only two people that thought that Gypsy Rose was like a murdering psychopath still. Like, I'm like, God, I know. I get that she, like, her mom did this terrible shit, but she still murdered her mother, and it's like that whole thing was really weird to me. And I was like, from a psychological perspective, I really appreciated Dr. John's take because it was my take. Like Allie and our 18-year-old Cameron, shoo, like we were going at it. Like it was my two brilliant women versus me. And it was heavy duty. It was very heavy duty. They were like, "Are you nuts? She was abused her whole life." I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Yeah, she was definitely abused, but I think at some point she became complicit in it. It was like they were running a grift." And I think that at some point, like, I don't know. He's very insightful, Joanne. Yeah, he really is. And that's why, like, I respect the hell out of him. So I was happy to see that somebody that I respect who's in that field felt the same way about the Gypsy Rose thing as I did. I don't know. It's like it was a weird situation where she became like probably relatively wealthy and famous upon getting out of prison for murdering her mother. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird case. It's a weird case. It was like, it was one of those cases where I get it. I get it on both sides, and I certainly like, and you have to be careful with the case like that because you're like, you don't want to victim blame, obviously. And she was definitely a victim until I think that she wasn't, and I think that at some point when she's old enough to know, like, and she clearly had the ability to, to go hook up with her boyfriend. And, I mean, like, she had the ability. I don't know. It's a tough case. It's a tough case. But at the end of the day, yeah, big hard agree. LAW. Big hard agree. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing something with those guys. Like I've had, because they've been phenomenal in terms of their coverage on Valo, Daybell, anything that happens up in Idaho, Utah. They're all over it. So and they do such great work. Both of them. Lauren's amazing too. She did, she's like an investigative journalist for a long time, TV reporter. I mean, she knows her shit. So yeah, they're a great channel. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll keep you guys up to date as to when we're gonna do something. So I don't know. I don't know what the issue is here. I wish I did. I wish they would have argued that so that we could hear. I think we deserve to know what they're arguing about. I like the judge with the breaks, though. Like, in again, this has been a very clean trial in terms of very minimal objecting, which isn't necessarily good. I mean, if you're the defense, especially if you're the defense, you need to be objecting to things in order to preserve issues for appeal. So, while it makes for a much speedier trial, you have to worry about the fact that he's rarely objecting to anything that the state put on. Like, I think maybe there were 2 sidebars total during the entire case in chief of the state. I mean, if this dude's convicted, remember, if you don't object, the whole thing about objecting is you're preserving issues for appeal. If you fail to object, sometimes you have to object multiple times. Sometimes you have to renew your objections in order to preserve an issue for appeal. If you don't do that, the appellate courts typically will consider it to be waived. So, I mean, maybe he just didn't think there was anything worth objecting to. I mean, the old rule is, if you fall asleep in court, that the moment you wake up, you object, no matter what, which is true. I mean, you can't worry about as a lawyer, you can't worry about the fact that a trial is being streamed. Like you're not worried about the audience when you are trying a case, and you're not thinking about it. The only thing that matters is the process, the trial itself. You can't be worried. Wow, like I wonder if the streamers are getting pissed that I'm objecting so much because it's like it's really slowing down the trial. You can't worry about that shit. It's just not something that matters at all. But in certain cases it's obviously evident, wherein it's like what Jay was talking about during YSL, where the witness was on there, who has, I guess, a YouTube channel and was using unaliving as opposed to the alternative because YouTube is very sensitive about that particular word. But and like Jay had asked, thus far they have not put a brick on the monetization of that particular episode where they were talking about that unaliving quite a bit. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, for as many like law channels there are, like law tubes, and like how many attorneys there are. Oh, that's right. That's right. Does she have a channel? What's the name of her channel? I want to check it out. I don't know what it is. I forgot her name already too. Jay said it. In one out. It was like boop boop gone. It's like I'm one of those guys. If I meet you, I will remember your face forever, but I forget your name within seconds of it being said. It's just like I can't remember names. I need like the dude from Arrested Development, who was also in Veep, who was in Julie Louise Dreyfus's ear all the time, telling her, "Oh, that's who this guy is. That's who this woman is. This is what they do." Like I need a whisperer in my ear to just constantly updating me on names, because I always feel, Kayla Bumpus. Thank you, Tasha. Oh, wow. Allie, what a gal. Love you.
Love you too, babe.
Do you want to jump on?
Just gonna get undressed and start working.
Uh-oh. Should I stop the camera?
No, not that.
Wow, wee wah. Wow. Okay, so almost got a little Allie time. A little Allie
Take my
time.
shoes off.
Oh, it's just the shoes. That's not exciting. So yeah, Allie, I don't know if you saw, and Allie's over side stage over here. So they put on a forensic phone guy,
Yeah.
and they're showing where Teaz's phone is connecting to multiple towers, a bunch near his house, showing that the phone was working. And then there's like, it appears that there's a gap. Now, I don't know who said it, Meg, or somebody said that there was, maybe it was Pammy. Somebody said that there was, because I think the time of death is in the 11 a.m. hour sometime. I can't remember when it was, but you have all this action on the phone up until about 8:27
AM.
Yes, a.m. and then nothing until like 2:30. And I'm like, what? I'm like, wait a second here. It doesn't seem helpful. But somebody said they saw one connect with the tower at like 12 something, which again, I don't know if that's helpful in terms of the fact that it looks like he's maybe 10 minutes away from that location, his house. I don't know.
And then one cop gave me play-by-play everywhere he was for every minute of the day.
It
His
did.
car was spotted. Then no car was spotted.
Well, so I think the thing that is kind of interesting is that they had the pen register going on him,
Right.
which if you're trying to sell this frame up theory, like that is an interesting fact. Like you wouldn't think that somebody who I think was aware,
No.
he did not know.
He should not know. He's not supposed to
He's
know.
not supposed to know, but I thought he was the guy who went to them about this bribery thing. Like
Well, he did, but then they did a flip up switch around.
the old
Started investigating-
switcheroo.
Yeah, and started investigating him.
Wow. I think Allie should just come on with us for a bit. What do y'all think? Come on. Just for like 20 minutes. 10. Yeah, just hang with us for a minute. The kids miss you,
20 minutes.
and I miss you. Like I get lonely here. I get lonely. Like Shan's was with Jay this morning. It was so sweet. It was so sweet. I love watching Jay watch Adelson. He just is so over the Adelsons. Like their constant lying just it makes him furious. Oh, all right.
Okay.
All right. We good?
Yeah.
All right. That's what I like. All right. So Allie's gonna dip in for a minute. Cool. That's cool. That's super cool. It's true, Jay. You guys are so sweet. Jay, man, what, dude? And you're not wrong. Like that whole family is full of shit. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's that case. Like you have to wonder. Like, so I don't know if y'all saw yesterday. If you're on Twitter, Jay's got a shadow account. And it's I think it's called When Are They or Have They Arrested Wendy Adelson? Have they arrested Wendy Adelson yet? And all Jay does every day is he types no. He didn't even tell me. He didn't even tell me. What a hilarious. All right, we're back. We're back. Or are we? Dude, no, that's hilarious. I was rolling. I was rolling. Like I hadn't even seen the account. I didn't know it existed. So when you posted it, I was like you were later, you were like, I got outed, or like I have to confess, or whatever you said. Oh no, not yet, Jay. They've got a forensic phone guy on the stand right now, who I think is going through the pen register, which is that's through a warrant. That's where they get a warrant to ping somebody's phone. So like I don't think this is like, I think it's a pen register. I don't think it's like data from the carrier. So I don't know, but like in my estimation, it has not been helpful thus far. To me, it's been very damaging. Is that what it is? Wendy for prison? It's so funny. So funny. So funny. Jay, I meant to tell you, I meant to text you. I was like, before I jumped in the shower when I was in chat this morning, I think I saw somebody posted that like Donna's team has filed something that they're saying that like that it's way too long that they waited to indict her or some shit. I don't know. Like, check it out though, dude. I think there's a new filing. Check it out. Check it out. You know where you can go, bro. You know where you can go. Seeking Justice. That's where you can go. The greatest Discord channel in the history of Discord. If you're a trial nerd, which I think all of us are. If we say we're all trial nerds. Thank you, Couch. Couch confirms they did file yesterday, J-Bo. Sounds like we need a J-Bo reading. Oh, shit. Look at that, J-Bo. Get at it. Oh, Pete covered it? Well, he doesn't cover the Adelsons like Jay does. So, like, that's cool. Jay comes with a different vibe. I can't place who this guy reminds me of, but it's somebody. Kind of F. Murray Abraham, but not quite. Might just be the bulbous nose. He's got that F. Murray Abraham type nose. How could we not love Jay? We all love Jay. I mean, if somebody doesn't love Jay in my chat, we're going to have words. I think you know that. I think you know that. If you don't know that by now, now you know. Now you know. Oh, I did get a tasty Venmo, and I got a really nice note on it. Kay sent me a $20 Venmo. I have been working on an Oklahoma wrongful conviction case for the past 8 years. Your comments on the podcast about the roadblocks to relief were spot on. I'd love to hear more stories from Dorsch and Byrne. Thanks for your hard work, Bob. Thank you so much, Kay. And thank you for fighting the good fight. There is nothing harder in the criminal justice system than trying to undo a conviction, a wrongful conviction. It is the hardest thing to do.
All right.
And frustrating beyond anything else. So frustrating. All right, Jerry's coming back in. Oh, Anita, I like that. I think you're right. I definitely see a little Harvey Keitel in there. The wolf. Great role in Pulp Fiction.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, everyone. Please be
Bad
seated.
Lieutenant.
Thank you. Sorry for the break, Mr. Aguero. We were discussing this slide, the 2022 media locations, and you were telling us what this was.
Yeah, this slide here is looking at the locations that were found on the cell phone when I reviewed the Celebrite extraction report. All of the locations came from basically media, photos or videos that were stored on the phone. Typically, when you take a photograph, most modern phones will get the latitude, longitude, so it'll give you a location where the photo was taken. So this is just looking at all the media that was found on the phone. And there were the little orange dots is the actual latitude and longitude
If only
reported
we could see
on the media.
the exhibit. If only we
And
could
again,
see it.
there's basically 3 locations where they're all kind of bunched together. The bulk of them is in the upper left near the Spanish
Sweet.
Steps Lane location.
Sweet.
And that's in January.
Sweet.
Had 124
Hi.
pictures or videos taken at that location. There was one at the bottom of the page taken in September. And then there was one on the right taken in March. Again, this is just strictly.
Babe, turn up your mic.
Did you switch out the headphones again?
I did. You have your black headphones. No, I did not. Sorry, Al.
From media locations. And the media could be some that the phone took itself, or it could be some that were sent via text message or downloaded from social media or some other online site. And that's basically what we're looking at.
Testing.
Now, you had prepared a report just a couple of days ago and had sent it to the parties involved, correct?
Yes.
And that presentation was not in the PowerPoint presentation. It was basically slides, fair to say.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm going to show you that's proposed.
Test complete.
3. I may approach the witness.
This water's from like last week. I'm like looking at it.
You could review.
Does it look like the water in our water rower?
No.
Yes, I do.
Now, in reference to these two, is there any correlation between these two exhibits and what we're seeing on the screen?
Yes. This first one, C3, it was looking at all of the locations found on the phone, and they range from 2009 all the way through 2022. There was quite a bit of location. So we have a lot more dots throughout the map.
And if I could publish, Your Honor? And if we could bring this up on the overhead.
Pause it a sec.
Okay. Oh, and we have some folks from Melanie Little's channel. Say hi.
Hey, we love Melanie Little and all the people from Melanie Little's channel. Why? She's not on?
I don't know. She was covering it. I didn't see her live today, so maybe she couldn't do it.
Oh.
So what's up, babe?
So your dad was like, what are you guys talking about today? And I was like, oh, that you might have seen on the news that case where the guy killed the reporter writing a bad story. And then I was like, he's like full pedal to the metal, like full gas on the worst defense I've ever seen. But I don't know, maybe stuff's starting to come together. Is it?
I don't know.
I mean, they're really going for it though. It's
I-
just so bizarre.
Well, remember, like Tejas was representing himself for a while. Now, that does not mean that his attorney, when he's hired on, retained, has to adopt his defense. But there's nothing more annoying than having a lawyer for a client. You know, even though this guy's not Tejas isn't a criminal defense attorney. I think he was in estate planning or some shit like that.
Right.
So, but still, like, there's nothing more annoying than having an attorney client.
So I just wanted to say, like, what's been bugging me? I mean, bugging me since they did the cross-examination of the DNA witness. And I don't know if you even heard me say it this morning, but like I woke up this morning and I said something to you. I was like, if they don't call an expert, like a DNA, they don't have something up their sleeve where it's like they have their own DNA expert going to challenge that. I am fascinated by the way that they just went like full on at the DNA expert and then just completely ignored the worst evidence that exists against him. Just doesn't even mention it. I mean, if that's the strategy, I mean, maybe it's better than I ever thought it was. 'Cause like it's like he put on a cross-examination and it seemed like stuff was happening. And then maybe all the jurors forgot that there
They
was
found
no
his DNA under Jeff's fingernail. Yeah, that's pretty bad evidence. And then on top of that, so like you were working, but they went through, his lawyer went through all of the almost all of the photographs of Tejas when they arrest him. You know, he's got his drawers on. That's it. You know, and they're showing all the pictures, face, chest, hands, except they skip the hamburger finger. Like they show every picture aside from the hamburger one. I'm like,
wait. Who does this? The prosecution or the
no,
defense?
the defense.
That's the defense's. That's their strategy.
What, to
They're
pretend that
gonna
shit
put-
doesn't exist?
Yes.
Oh,
It
okay.
seems like it. They put on to go like all balls out, to the wall.
I mean, so this
Completely
is
ignore the worst evidence.
it's quite clearly these are not the droids you're looking for defense. Like, I
Yes.
mean, they're clearly trying to use the force, obviously. All right, let's go.
This is Defense Exhibit C3. If you could please explain to us again, this is just a much broader time frame.
Yes, it's again, it's from 2009 through 2022, so there's several years worth of records and locations. And again, each of the dots represents one or more locations that were found at where the dot is.
Okay. Turning your attention to what's been marked and admitted, please. Yes, you could explain to us this document.
Yes, this one, B3, is just looking at the time frame of August 1st through August 31st, 2022. And it doesn't have any dots on the map because there were no locations found on the phone for that month.
Why do we have the
For that
blank
month? We've got a
When you
whole
say
blank
no
month.
locations, is this in reference to media locations?
Well, just any locations that are found on the phone. The first one that we looked at were all strictly media location. This last one from 2009 through 2022 were all the locations found. From memory, I don't recall if they're strictly media or if there's other forms of location. The form will keep a variety of locations in its memory.
Has there been any change in your evaluation of the data that was presented to you?
No.
There was a slide that we had addressed
I'm still laughing
concerning
about showing all the
the
pictures except
September
the
2nd,
hamburger finger.
2022 data.
Aw,
I'm sorry, the
Melanie,
September
so
2nd,
awesome.
2022 data. Recall
I
that
left
line
my
of
phone up
questioning?
here. I should. Oh,
Yes.
didn't.
Again, there's been no change in your testimony or opinions through the course of your evaluation of this data.
No.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Oh my God.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I would have asked him about that day that the girl saw the other person. Did he do that? They put a
No.
witness on to be like, oh, there's this guy that looks just like Tellez that wasn't Tellez, but I'm not going to tell you in court that it wasn't the person sitting right there.
Well, we don't even know if it looked like Tellez, as you appropriately commented yesterday. Nobody asked the question: is the man that you saw, does he look like the man sitting at the table? No one asked it. Not the
Well, he
defense,
should have
not
at
the
least
state, not the jury.
used the data to show that Tellez wasn't there.
Well, we'll see what Rob Schneider's going to do. Rob Schneider cuter.
Oh, Lord. I'm still angry at the jury, by the way, for not asking the question.
I told him. I told the peeps that you were angry. You woke up angry at the jury stuff. That was actually the first thing you said. I think before
I?
the DNA. I think before the DNA thing.
I didn't even remember. Still.
Or you woke up at like 3 a.m, like the jury didn't ask a question.
No, shut up. He's going to be like, so there's this large gap from the time of the murders.
Exactly. So this huge gap in time, like right
All right.
during the time
How are
when
you, sir?
I'm doing good,
Phone
thank you.
seems to have been
Good.
left there, huh?
So, just to be clear, this is the PowerPoint presentation that you just presented the jury this morning. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. It would be accurate to say that this report, the one that we saw today, was produced on August 21st. That would be today at 10:21 a.m. Does that sound about right?
well, actually, this report was created last night. I copied it to a thumb drive this morning to bring it over.
Okay. So last night you created it, but this morning at 10:21 a.m. you sent that out, correct?
Well, I brought it on a thumb drive and gave it to the attorney, and that's probably when he copied. I gave it to him a few minutes.
So now we know what the sidebar was about. The state was like saying, they just gave us this report this morning. So that's obviously what was going on.
Minutes before that.
So,
Okay.
I just don't get it. They're pretty laid back there. And
Yeah, it's
what's what's one of the many nicknames of Las Vegas? I can't.
Sin City.
Yeah. Okay.
Sin
Are
City.
they they're in the Las Vegas area, right? Of Nevada?
Yeah, Las Vegas Metro. Yeah,
All right.
Vegas proper.
Understood. And just to be clear, this was not the first report that you produced, correct?
No, it's not.
Okay. And I'm going to show opposing counsel. It's already in previously marked as 373. May I approach the witness? Let the record reflect I'm showing the witness. Sir, I want you to take a look at station post 373. Take a quick minute, flip through it, and let me know if you recognize it.
Yes, it looks like the original PowerPoint or the original presentation that was prepared.
And that's a fair and accurate depiction of that original report. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
At this time, we ask that station post 373 be admitted into evidence.
No objection.
Thank you very much. Okay, sir. So let's do this. I want to pick up where he left off at the end. So when we look at the end of your presentation, and we get to slides 15 and 16. 15 says celebrate locations. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And then this one focuses on media locations. Is that correct?
Well, it focuses on all the locations from 2022 that were on the phone.
Well, it's specifying media locations.
They were all media locations.
Okay. And that is with respect to Mr. Tellis's phone that was forensically downloaded, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Now, if we could cue over to the Elmo.
It is Kiefer. Same prosecution team.
Thank you. So this is, as we can see here, that's marked as slide 14, correct? And it
Yes.
says celebrate locations. Is that right?
Yes.
When we turn to this slide, you were providing us a range of history from 2009 to 2022. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And each one of those orange dots symbolizes location data being spit out by that phone that's contained on the forensic download of the phone. Would that be correct?
Correct, yes.
And just to be clear, when we look at this map, that's not all of Las Vegas. It's just a section of Las Vegas, correct?
Correct.
And it's the section of Las Vegas that contains the defendant's house. Is that right?
Yes,
I don't know if you know that or not, but at least it contains Spanish Steps. Is that correct?
correct, yes.
Were you aware that's where the defendant lived?
I learned it in the last couple of days.
Okay. It includes an address of Bronze Circle, and you wouldn't have any reason to disagree with me that potentially is well, it's not potentially, it is the victim's home in this case.
I'll take your word.
All right. And it also includes, I believe, well, it doesn't have any Planet Fitness landmarks on this slide, correct?
Correct.
And so that is a 13-year snapshot of this section of the city regarding location data found on that phone.
Correct.
Let's
Had the
talk
same
about
phone
location
for
data for a
10
second
years?
on a phone. If
Keeps
you, for
stored to
example,
the
if you have,
iCloud.
if you send a phone, if you take a picture on a phone, sometimes phones will actually capture where exactly you took that picture, correct?
Yes, most modern phones will capture the latitude, longitude, sometimes the altitude of where the photo was taken.
And so when phones are, for example, created on a phone and that's captured in Celebrite, you can capture location data showing, oh, I can see where, that would be a plot point.
I turned mine
correct?
off,
Correct.
so perverts can't
But
find my kids.
apps are a way that location data
Creeps.
can be generated from a Celebrite download, correct?
I don't post
Well,
pictures
apps
anymore.
can
so
generate
it doesn't matter.
location and be stored on the phone, and then Celebrite would download that app location.
So for example, like Waze, the app Waze, right?
Correct.
It shows you which way to go. You can turn on your location services, and then if you had turned it on and your phone is downloaded, Celebrite could collect what Waze following you, correct?
Correct.
Google Maps is the same way, correct?
Yes.
I mean, even like Chick-fil-A can follow. We'd like to know where you are. You can tell Chick-fil-A, hey, you can follow me anytime I'm walking around, correct?
There's a million apps that will follow people, yes.
So the owner of the phone has
Yep.
a lot of control over who's watching, where they're going with their phone, because they control turning on location information, correct?
That is correct.
No.
Okay. And so all you're doing is trying to see what location information was left, right?
Correct.
And when we look at a 13-year snapshot of Mr. Tellis's phone, we get all those dots for that section, correct?
Yes.
This
There's 20
slide
every
is
day
not
except for
in
one day.
the newest presentation, correct?
No, the newest presentation I was requested, since there is quite a bit of data, narrow it down to 2022, and that's what I did.
Understood. So the answer to my question was no. This slide was not in the new presentation, correct?
Correct, yes.
All right. So now let's turn to the original report. Let's go to slide 16. Sir, if you could, please read the header of the slide.
All right, so Rob Schneider-Cuter is about to hand this dude his ass. Watch and learn, kids.
August 1 through 31st, 2022, no locations.
No locations. So if I'm understanding this slide correctly, you decided to look at how much location data is on Mr. Tellis's phone for the month of August of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Your map focuses on Bronze Circle as well as his house, correct?
Correct.
And there's not a single plot point, correct?
Correct.
When we look at the 13 years, there's tons of plot points, right?
Yes.
But the month of August, dead silent.
Correct.
Oof.
Sir, an owner of the phone has the ability to turn off location information, correct?
That is correct. You can turn off location history at any point.
And you don't just have the power to turn off a particular app. You can literally just turn the phone off and then it goes dark, right?
If you turn the phone off, then it will not record anything.
So if you want to go to Bronze Circle, but you don't want someone to see you, you can simply just turn off the phone, right?
That is possible, yes.
You could go through every single one of your apps that have location information and you could turn those off as well if you wanted to leave your phone on, right?
That is correct.
The power is in the holder of the phone, correct?
Yes.
And this is Mr. Tellis's phone.
Yes.
And that month, and here's the thing, when you reviewed this case, do you know the day that Mr. Gehrman died?
I thought
have
it was
no
no. I thought
Okay,
it
so
was
if I told you it was September 2nd,
September,
you
right?
have no reason to dispute.
Just for the record, I love this guy. Like I love this guy so much that I'm shocked that he's not a defense attorney. He gives off a real defense attorney vibe. He just does. He's very down to
Down to
earth.
earth.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm a fan of his. I'm gonna try to get him on the live. He's the guy who put away that fucking super creep, Tommy Randolph, man. Like the dude, the dude.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you remember.
that.
No, I don't. I don't know the date.
Okay. But just to be clear, the month before Mr. Gehrman dies, he's got no location data on his phone
That's correct.
for that area.
Correct.
So I want to turn back to, can we cue over to his like modern presentation than the most recent one? Thank you.
The modern
All right,
one.
So let's look at.
Yes,
Sorry,
Leslie.
I'm getting confused. Looking at
Exactly.
the presentation thing here. All right. So the 702-533-1858. You reviewed the subscriber information on this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And just to be clear,
There you go. Can't do it.
702-533-1858, according to the T-Mobile records, the subscriber is Robert Tellis, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So when you looked at the cell phone records and the pen register, it was all affiliated with Mr. Tellis's cell phone, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When we look at this slide here, August 1st through August 16th, when we look at this information, again, these are just plot points of the phone interacting with a tower. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just to be clear, this does not deal with September 2nd. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And also, just to be clear, if I didn't want to interact with a tower, so when we look at historical records, isn't it true that when you see the tower data, that's because of if a phone called, let's say a phone called my phone, and I picked it up and I answered it, that connection using a cell tower pops up in the record, right?
That is correct. Yes.
You would agree with me that if I turn my phone off, there's not going to be a plot point of where my phone is because my phone is not talking to a cell tower, correct?
No, if you turn your phone off, there would be a
Oh,
record
babe,
of the call
pause it a
coming
sec.
in, going to voicemail, and there would not be a cell tower.
Right. So when we look at just
I wanted to ask Nita Megapint if she remembered what the day she was there, if those two juror questions came from the same juror or different jurors. So
Her
if
hubby's there today.
her hubby's
She's
there today.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why she said I just thought maybe he was like assuming that, like, oh, I bet the jury's hanging on every word. Oh, they're rotating. Okay. Okay.
All right. Okay, Walmart.
if we look at August 1st through August 16th, and we see like bronze circle, it doesn't appear to be a tower that the phone is interacting, right?
Correct.
But let's just say if I turned off my phone and I went to bronze circle, it doesn't matter how many times someone calls me, it's never going to show up in the records, right?
Correct.
Because I controlled whether or not someone could see me through that tower information, right?
If you turn it off, there will be no record. Yes.
Right, because the
Oh,
holder of
there
the
he is
phone
with his face. Look at
controls
him. Look at him.
information, right? In terms of tower data, right?
What's this guy talking about? Like, what? Hold on, let me squinch up my eyebrows. Look at my forehead lines. What does he mean?
Well,
Put it another way,
That was my hair.
if I don't want any tower records of my movement, all I have to do is hit the power button and turn it off, right?
yes, you can turn it off, and then there would be no record on any record from the phone company.
So
Only guilty man
all
in
of the
Shawshank.
information that we get to this is tied to whether or not the holder of the phone wants to keep his phone on or off, correct?
These is showing all the
Okay.
times that the phone is on.
So
period.
the answer to my question is what?
Our case is really
It
good.
all depends on whether or not the holder of the phone wants to have his location data out there, right?
The jury loves it.
Well, it depends on whether the owner of the phone wants to
Really?
have.
How could he be any happier?
And if Mr. Tellis didn't want to have his communication out there, he could simply turn it off and you wouldn't be able to see the movement of his
Exactly.
phone as it interacts with towers.
That's what I
because it
did,
can't, correct?
motherfucker.
That would be correct, yes.
Okay, and just to be clear, During this
Yep,
month of August, at
that's
least for
what
this
I
2 week
mean.
period, there's no tower interaction near Brown
It's on the
Circle,
eyes.
correct?
That is
He's
correct.
admitting it.
Okay. Again, similarly,
The window of his butthole.
we see
Wow.
this is the same logic, right? So you've got these pings, but it's dependent on the phone being on to communicate with those towers. Is that right?
I did so
Yes.
good.
Moving on to slide 5.
I turned off my
This
phone.
is kind of a tower near Planet Fitness, correct? So this is on 8/5. So this is not the day of the murder, is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know the date of the murder.
9/2. So it's not
Exactly,
9/2,
Jordan.
correct?
Correct,
So we're looking at we're looking in that 2 week window in August, right?
correct.
Okay.
You can't see my 2-week
We're
window.
looking at 8/28. That's not on 9/2, is it?
I didn't have my phone on. How could you possibly know what I was doing?
Correct.
Let's move on. Let's talk about 9/2. So on 9/2 here, you are
Uh-oh.
indicating that there are
Yeah,
data
gaping
sessions
hole.
from 1:30 in the morning to 6:44, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and it's interacting at a cell site tower kind of nearby Spanish Steps, right?
Correct.
So this is not incoming or outgoing, is that right?
It's strictly data sessions.
Right, and I think you said, the phone acts passively, right?
It can be active or it can be passive.
And so like people go to sleep and your phone could still be communicating with a tower through a data session. Would that be right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh,
6
Nays on the
a.m. to 6:45 to 6:50.
Binging.
Again, these are all data sessions, right?
Correct.
So no outgoing
Re-binge
messages
Casey
or voice
myself.
calls from this phone, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now we're looking at, this is a very big window of time. You've got 7:09 a.m. to 3:47. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it looks like you're trying to parse out what things are. Is that
Here it
correct?
is.
Yeah, I'm just separating the pen register data from the voice, text, and data.
And just to be clear, one of the things I saw on an earlier slide that you don't have here is you don't denote on this slide.
Incoming or outgoing.
Wait, somebody said that there was a 12 p.m. I'm not seeing the 12 p.m. anymore.
Well, let's hear what he says.
I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait.
If the text messages are incoming or outgoing, correct?
That is correct.
And you don't
Pause it.
denote if the voicemail message, the
Pause
voice
it.
call.
So he's saying on all the other times they did it. And as we know, or at least as the evidence has shown so far, there have been no incoming or outgoing right outgoing calls or even I think data initiated by him during this time period. So it's like you just said, like the whole these are not the droids you're looking for. They're just gonna ignore it, put all the data on, and then be like, oh yeah, well, no,
See, but I think this is the pen register. You know what I'm saying? Where you're just he said it's both. Like this is clearly just pings. This is just what tower it's pinging off of. That's what it looks like to me.
Well, he said you don't delineate whether the texts are incoming or outgoing.
Well, I don't even know if you can tell from that data what it is, whether he's on socials, whether he's texting, whether it's a call. It's just the phone was active and pinging off these towers at these times. So I don't know.
You can read that?
I mean, they blew it up for us one time. There was a time
I blew it up and it looks all blurry as hell.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a long time ago. They blew it up for us so we could actually see it. It was super cool.
Calls are incoming or outgoing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'd like to publish. You've read those pen registers. I'd like to publish Exhibit 345. Hold on. Let me bring this over. You're familiar with these records, correct?
Yes.
Oh, wait, this is the wrong one. Hold on a second. Just so we can see this is the subscriber records, right?
Correct.
That's how we can see it's Mr. Tellis and it's over at Spanish Steps. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. So I'm now publishing the pen register records. This is what they look like, correct?
Correct.
And essentially, when we look at category A, that's kind of plotting an event, right? Or like an entry point, right? Is that correct?
Column A, I believe it's just like a case number.
Okay, thank you. Column B is the number, right?
Correct.
And that's Mr. Tellis' number, is that right?
Yes.
Column D is the date, is that true?
Correct.
And call type is whether it's a voice or a text or if it's a data session, right?
Correct.
And direction is outgoing and ingoing, correct?
Correct.
Incoming.
Bum, bum, bum. They're all outgoing. Incoming. Incoming.
All I can say is I hope
So I just want to turn your attention to the
that
end of
Schneider
these
Tutor,
red
if you want to crosses, tell us.
And just so we're
Hey,
clear,
sorry.
when we were looking at your presentation before and you were mapping out the data sessions, the incoming, well, you didn't do incoming outcome, but you had text messages and voice, that was being pulled from these records that we see here, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, Aguero's hating life up there on the stand right now. Hating it.
Just want to get to.
I mean, how is he tendering a report this
There's a
morning?
glare and I can't.
Wasn't an
see
issue.
The scroll button. Sorry.
I think Rob Schneider Cuter was like, I'm good.
Right.
This
I was
thing
just gonna say,
sucks.
he's like, he changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Took out the bad stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty hard to miss.
Okay.
Teller
So-
still thinks they're winning. It's like winning.
Do you see this entry point here? For the record, it's 45556. Do you see that, sir?
Yes, sir.
And I think you're familiar with this. Isn't it true that this is for the morning of September 2nd, this is the last outgoing text for a while. Would that be correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And
Yes.
it's
There's an
outgoing
actual
and it's at 8:48,
podcast.
right?
For
Correct. Yes.
Defense Diaries.
Scan that. That's how I got into the YouTube.
And
game
we
to promote
look at that
the
other
podcast.
slide, when we look at,
It's my baby.
so when we're looking at, there it is, right? That's up at the top, right? The very first entry, that's an outgoing text message, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Pause it a sec, babe.
So let's go back to these records.
What you got, girl?
The fact of the matter is that they had tendered all of this before, but he like updated or amended the report. So there's like less data in there. I think if it would have been all new information, you'd have a problem. If you're like, oh, my, expert updated it here, look at it a second. It's got all the same stuff it had before, but a couple things are different.
Right.
Could, whatever the case may be. So,
Right. I think he's taking the prosecutor's taking the opportunity to point out the fact that he cherry picked shit for his report. I mean,
he really did just take out the stuff that was not all that important, but he probably might have taken out stuff that was too.
Look, this thing here that's so blurry for you, like, trust me when I tell you that it goes from, there is 8:46:05 a.m. and then the next text message is 2:12:36 p.m. Voice, there's nothing early. Text
It's not
message.
that really much about Gacy. Need a mega.
Oh wait,
as
I
much
do
as it is the
see.
investigation.
I see data sessions. There's the 12:03:50.
See data sessions.
Data
Question
session.
is, can they tell from that whether he initiated it or something he was left open,
Yeah,
refreshed?
or you get
in
like
its
a
own?
notification. I wonder if your notifications
Yeah, it could be data for sure.
could be data if that's popping in. Yeah, super proud of the Gacy season. I don't know if there's another. If you guys know a pod that's like that, if you're a podcast listener, let me know. I don't
Me
think
too,
so.
because I'll listen to it.
Yeah, it's because that shit was epic. And my dad was his lawyer.
Epic.
And you hear tapes that you'll never hear ever again about one of the worst human beings that ever lived, with my dad prepping him for trial. So there's that. And it's all just tucked neatly into an amazing story.
Amazing.
So check it out. If you haven't listened to the pod, we
Check
highly
it.
recommend it. All right, let's go. Sorry. Back to the bloodletting.
So when we start to look after 8:48,
That's when it goes dark,
you're
right?
getting tons of outgoing data, which is kind of, as you testified to, a passive function of a phone, correct?
Can be, yes.
But then you start getting text messages, right? So here's one at 9:16, right?
Correct.
That's incoming though, right?
Correct.
There's another one at 9:16:03, another incoming text, correct?
Correct.
9:16:04, an incoming text, correct?
Yes.
9:26, another incoming text, correct?
Correct.
And this phone is not responding. It's not sending an outgoing text yet. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
We have another incoming text at
I mean, he's
9:44. Is that
pretty
right?
busy.
Correct.
He's
Another incoming
scoping out
text
the
at
scene. Come on.
9:44. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
We have another one. We've got 1, 2,
I wish he'd show his face right
all
now.
within
He's probably like,
9:44:53. Incoming text after incoming text, correct?
Yeah, just to clear up, when you have the same time frame,
Mhm.
it typically is one large message that's broken down into smaller segments. So it's not necessarily multiple messages. Just so it's clear.
Understood. And so we see this bulk, there's one message coming at 9:44, but it's not responded to immediately, correct?
Correct, yes.
And then at 10:16, we have another text message, right?
Correct, incoming.
And then 1 second later, so the first one's at 10:16:29, the next one's at 10:16:30, another text message, right?
Again, they could be separate. It could be one long message broken down.
Okay, so we're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
I like
6,
banter.
all
Banter's
being
good.
recorded by this phone, right?
Correct,
And there's no immediate response back, right?
correct.
Then we see at 10:35, nearly 15 minutes later, another text message comes in, or actually nearly 20 minutes later, another text message comes in, right?
Correct.
And there's no
And he's,
outgoing
still
response.
not
Isn't
responding.
that right?
That is correct.
Now at 10:43, there's 2 voice calls. Isn't that right?
Oh,
Incoming, correct.
doesn't
Incoming.
answer,
So
doesn't
people are now
listen.
calling the phone.
Hey,
Right?
listen, he was
Yes.
busy.
It's followed up by an incoming text
He
message.
could have
right?
taken a
Judge
nap,
me?
Bob.
Could
We
have been
then
taking a
by,
nap.
now we're
All right,
almost
pause it
at
one more
30
second.
minutes later, we have 2 more phone calls coming in.
All that really matters, and I would hope that the defense attorney did something with this, unless he can't because it proves the opposite, is his history. Are there other times like this? Is this a typical time of the day where he's, where there's long gaps where he doesn't answer the phone? If you looked at my history, like my cell phone movement calls, it would never be unusual for me not to answer or not to respond
For
or not to,
days.
I mean,
Days.
so sometimes I find a text, I'm like, oh my God, you sent me the most wonderful thing like 7 days ago. Sorry,
Yeah,
love
I'm like,
you.
hey, remember that text I said that you're the most magical creature I've ever laid eyes on? And she's like, what? No. I was like, I sent it 3 days ago, girl.
That didn't happen.
Okay. You say so, babe.
And correct?
But
Correct.
anyway,
Again, that I
it should be
believe is
comparing
one actual.
his data to other time frames.
Yeah. I mean, historically, well, let me ask you, in your estimation, what does that prove? Like, are you saying the defense needs to put that up?
Yeah, the
On-
defense, unless it's
on redirect?
impossible, or that they should have done it with him initially. Clearly, this period of time is an issue for the defense, although they're trying to present a defense as though it's not. So maybe then, yeah, on redirect to show that happens often. It is not unusual. Phone.
Yeah, because I mean that is the witching hour there. That's the 11 a.m. So he's got 2 incoming voicemails, and then he looks to have several outgoing data blasts.
I'd venture to
during-
guess this guy's typically not non-responsive for that many hours at a time, but
I mean, he's an elected official. It seems like he's got to be on the clock, right? Like he's got to be accessible. But he was
he could have
busy.
been taking that nap.
Yeah, he could have been.
Everybody needs a good nap.
Or
Binge watching something.
yeah, like dude, watching that last season of Survivor. Come on,
Yeah.
man. Gotta do it.
Call there within a couple seconds.
Understood. Seems to be the same number, 2 seconds off. But nonetheless, someone is calling that phone 30 minutes after those last text messages, right?
That is correct. Yes.
And yet nothing is going out of that phone. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And then we just have tons of passive outgoing data activity, getting us to about 1:20. Isn't that right?
Yes,
And once again, at 1:20, more incoming calls. Isn't that right?
I
That
do
is
too,
correct.
Or it
Pam.
might just be one call, right? 'Cause it's at
Crazy.
the same
It's
time,
like
same number. Would that be fair?
yes,
a whole
All right.
new
And
defense
then
strategy I
just
was
a
unaware
minute,
of.
a minute
Just
and
ignore it.
15 seconds later, another incoming text, right?
correct.
And then there's another incoming text 2 seconds later. Maybe it's from the same place. Who knows? But we've got another record of it. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And then we have an incoming text from a completely different number. Isn't that true?
Correct.
We have got more. So 2 more coming from that number. Isn't that right?
Again, it could be one long message or multiple messages, all incoming.
Right. But the bottom line is
Celebrate will tell
people
you.
keep reaching out to this phone. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And we're not seeing a response going out from this phone, are we?
Correct.
Now we get to 1:22. There's another incoming text. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And it appears to be a series from this number, right?
Correct.
There's 3 of them here. We get another incoming text message at 1:26 from a
It
completely different
Time
number.
to
Isn't that right?
wind down
Correct.
after you murder
And yet
somebody.
the phone never sends an outgoing message.
Hey, what are you trying to say? I mean, the importance of so now what he's doing is he's plugging in all the activity that was going on this phone that was not shown on that other exhibit. Like, so when he's got the pen register stuff going on, where we saw all the stuff, turns out there was a bunch of shit happening. However, it appears that the phone was turned off. So none of it was registering on the pen register. However,
Wait,
in
is that
terms of-
true what you're saying right now?
well, yeah, this is the provider shit.
Right, but
it doesn't
didn't they
matter. Like,
have-
if you text me when my phone's off, it's going to register with our provider. It's going to say, "Oh, you received a text," even though it didn't come through. It won't come through until we turn the phone on, right? But it still is doing things. It's doing its phone shit. So yeah, I mean,
I
clearly.
thought that this was just because he wanted to show the direction, and that wasn't on his exhibit.
I think that he wanted to base. Oh, this is still the pen register. You can see it over in column C, even though you can't see it. I've got it on a bigger screen. So this is in fact the pen register. So, fuck, I don't know. Like to me, then it seems like what he's doing is just showing that this guy cherry picked the shit.
No,
out
he's
of
just
data.
showing that the guy was busy doing something because he wasn't responding to anything going on his phone.
Yeah, but the problem is that none of these things that he's showing from 11 on are evident on that other demonstrative piece of evidence he put up, which I think theoretically was also the pen register. I don't know. Let's see if he clears it up. Like, hopefully Rob Schneider Cuter is going to clear it all up, because if
The
I'm a
whole
little
point of
confused,
what Rob Schneider, well, I don't want to call him that. What is
okay,
his
well,
name?
you don't have to. I'm not down there twisting your arm. However, you refusing to do it is not going to stop me from doing it.
Okay, so I think that the only thing the prosecutor is doing right now is just repeating and repeating how your guy was not responding to anything on his phone during the hour before and the hour after the murder.
I mean, maybe. I think it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, in conjunction with that other demonstrative evidence, if this is just showing that he cherry picked the shit out of that report. I don't know. But I think he ran that through Cellebrite. So I don't know. Let's see if he can. Oh, by the way, Google Rob Schneider, go to images, and then tell
I
me
know
you
what the
wanna
guy
call him
looks
Rob.
like.
Do you? Refresh it.
Message, does it?
Not during this time, no.
Then we move on to 2:05. Finally, we have an outgoing text. Isn't that right?
Correct.
So from 8:48 in the morning to 2:05 p.m., on the day that Mr. Garman is murdered, no outgoing texts are being sent from Robert Tellis's phone. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
And there is not a single outgoing phone call from Mr. Tellis's phone.
Now, this, if you're the prosecution, you want to put on his history. I mean, this is what they did in Murdoch. They showed, like, I mean, they created the time of death from Paul and Maggie's phones, really specifically Paul's, because Paul was like clockwork. When his phone was down to like 6% battery, like there nearly wasn't a time where he didn't plug it in, and that night Paul had plans. Like, he was planning to go to a movie, So the state was able to create this timeline that his historical usage of the phone, this is it. Like, this is completely abnormal. What you were seeing here is what never happens with Robert Tellis's phone. I'm anticipating that the
Right,
state
that's
maybe in
what I'm
rebuttal
saying.
will put that on. I know.
Somebody, one of the two of them. He could do it with this guy. He doesn't need to do it in rebuttal, but yeah, I guess he could do it in rebuttal too.
He could.
At that time, isn't that right?
That is correct.
Does anyone know if Nita Megapine answered my question
No
about
further
the
questions
jurors?
this way.
I didn't see it.
Thank you. In reference to these messages, we'll keep this up. We don't know if it's actual people concerning this incoming data. It could be
Or
spam,
robots.
correct?
Robot.
It could be anything without looking at a cell phone extraction that has the copy of the messages or the
Okay, no
message
further
being saved
questions.
through the phone company. It could be
Point made.
anything. We don't know.
Okay, so it would be speculating to say all these people are reaching out, trying to get a hold of this person during this period of time, and he's just not responding. Fair to say?
Again, all we know is that messages are coming into the phone. Some of these are multiple. It could be one longer message broken down. Who they're coming from without checking the numbers and see who that person is, I have no idea.
So again, and you had said multiple times during cross, this could just be a large message. It doesn't mean that multiple times a person's trying to submit or.
Did he do that
transfer
last week,
information.
counsel?
Text messages are
a
SMS,
week
short
before.
message service. They go
Day
in
before?
small increments, 160 characters. So on your phone, you can type a long letter. When you hit send for transmission
Oh,
purposes,
3
that
different
gets
jurors
broken
asked
down
those
into
questions.
160 characters
Ah.
segments and transmitted. So on the records, you see multiple messages, but it's actually one long message.
Thanks, Megapine,
So
and
these could be one or they
whoever
could be
just gave me
multiple.
that
Okay, so
information.
again, to make the characterization, these are
Pollyanna.
multiple times during this
Row.
time. It's not particularly accurate. It could be
Reporting
one long
back.
message, fair to say.
Correct, yes.
Nita
And
Pine.
I moved this up courtesy, but I'd like to address
Sure. I can-
the last slide, please.
You want me to do
Yes,
that, Robert?
yes, thank you.
I just don't. So much defense of nothing. It's like a lot of like we're really putting on a defense.
Babe, it's hard to shine a turd. It's very, very hard to shine a turd.
Bring this up.
Crickets.
Turn your attention to the 2022 media locations. And previously, there was a number of questions carrying a longer span of time, 2009 to 2022.
Correct.
This was just to focus your attention on the year in question, fair to say?
Correct, yes.
Your conclusions are the same.
Yes, they are.
There's been no material difference whatsoever between your previous report and this report.
Correct. Just the previous one is a longer time frame with more cluttered with data.
See, wasn't all
And
that.
obviously, we were interested in an efficient presentation and a more focused presentation, fair to say?
Correct.
Your opinion has not changed whatsoever.
No, it's the same.
Your conclusions have not changed whatsoever.
No, they have not.
There have been several questions concerning this, and I submit to you, it's speculation.
Never
You can give better
objected.
space to sell, but where a person's turning off this media location data and trying to hide their movements. Remember that line of questions?
Yes,
There was questions, they could turn their phone off and they could somehow thwart being found or discovered.
correct.
Fair to say, like they're trying to hide their locations. In this slide, and it's slide 16, this was the last slide that we were addressing for the 2022 media locations. You see in the top left corner, there's the box.
Yes.
If you could explain to us the significance of that box, it's in this report.
I got to go to work,
Yeah,
Beck.
it basically is just telling you that all of the media
I'll
on
join
the
you
upper
for
left box
Telez's.
all occurred in January.
Right.
So
Fair,
when
fair.
we narrow
Hi,
it down
everyone.
to 1
Thanks,
year,
Melanie,
it's
and all
easier to
Melanie's people.
categorize how many
We love
Love
you
you,
guys.
locations are for each specific month. So those were all dated in January. And then after January, there are no media locations in that area.
Okay, so again, it appears consistent. It's not like this month of August, we have someone turning off their media locations on their phone. It appears that after January, we have February, March, April, May, June, all the way down, there's zero
Correct,
from that location.
correct.
Same question concerning the bottom,
Again,
the
that's
bottom
just,
box.
yeah, there was
Please
just
explain.
there was just one media location found in September. The other months, there was no location found in that area on the phone.
Same question on the right, the middle box right here.
Again,
Middle of the
it's-
screen to the right. Again, if you could please go through the months and explain the significance of that.
Yeah. Again, looking at the media location for the entire year, there was only one media that had location in March in that area. The other months, there was no location whatsoever on the phone.
Again, much to do about nothing. I mean, this shows that apparently the media location part of the cell phone
Excuse me,
is
it's
not being
much
utilized.
ado.
Well, media
about nothing.
location is when you actually take a photograph. Someone takes a photograph. The phone didn't have any other locations stored on it, such as Google locations or from apps or from any other source whatsoever. So the lack of location, there just wasn't any on the phone. And there are phones that don't store a whole lot of locations.
Okay, so obviously fair to say that based upon your experience in this area, people change their cell phones. People purchase new ones.
Yes, and then each model and each make stores data differently. Some store more locations. It depends what apps you use on your phone. Some will store more locations, others don't. The accuracy of the location can vary tremendously. So there's a lot of issues to take into account.
If I were to tell you that there was evidence, and obviously you weren't called upon to give an opinion concerning that, concerning newspaper articles, concerns in May. Again, looking at this analysis of these three for the media locations, we don't see anything going on in May, do we?
No, we don't.
We don't see anything going on in June, July, August, correct?
Correct.
We do have down here at the lower location, a media location concerning September of 1.
Correct.
Fair to say that based upon your analysis of this phone, there's not a change. It's consistent basically month in to month out, perhaps except for January of 2022.
Yes, it is pretty consistent throughout the year that there's not a whole lot of locations stored on the phone.
And again, the change in the report isn't material. Doesn't concern your conclusions. It's just to make the presentation simpler.
Correct.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
And, my client was having a torrid affair with somebody in the office. So obviously he didn't want his location tracked. Isn't that correct?
Thank you. Any cross?
I do. That was Mark. Oh, I can work it. Thank you very much. Sir, you remember at the beginning of cross-examination or redirect examination, you were asked a question about substantively what's going on with those text messages. And I think you said, oh, you might have to speculate. You really need to look into, celebrate, and study the messages, correct?
If you want to get the content, whether it's one long message or multiple small messages, yes.
And just to be clear, you did look at the content of the text messages on this phone as part of your work. Isn't that correct?
No, sir. That wasn't one of the items that was requested of me.
Okay. I'm showing opposing counsel, which is marked Exhibit 375. Thank you. May I approach? Sir, do you recognize what I'm about to hand you? This is Station Post 375.
Yes.
Okay. Please take a look at both pages.
Yeah, this is a report that I wrote back on August 17th.
You wrote that. That's a fair and accurate depiction of your report?
It is.
Okay. And you prepared that in conjunction with producing the original PowerPoint presentation that I kind of had and showed you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, we'd ask for admission of Station Post 375. You can approach me.
We got an approachal, as Jay would say. So let's do, you know what we do. You know what we do when there's an approachal. Yeah, this is not going well for the defense. That is clear. So Nita Megapint, if y'all don't know, her hubby is in the courtroom, giving us the boots on the ground deets, which I love.
Permission to publish. I'll kick you over to the Elmo.
Oh, interesting.
Thank you so much. Publishing Exhibit 375. All right, sir. So we can see that okay?
Yes,
All right, so that's dated August 17th, correct?
correct.
And you state in here that you were requested to analyze pen register records, correct?
Correct.
You also compared this IMSI to the IMSI shown on Mr. Tellis' Celebrite extraction, correct?
Correct.
And you kind of indicate that the phone was associated with, the number we've been talking about, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You were provided a Celebrite download of Mr. Tellis' phone, isn't that right?
Correct. Yes.
You just testified that you did not review the content of any text messages. You did just tell us that on cross-examination, didn't you?
Correct. Yes.
I want to show you now page 2. Sir, do you see these 3 entry points here?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that comes from Celebrite?
Yes, it does.
Doesn't that provide the content of the text messages?
Yes. And in this report, if you read it in its entirety, I'm just trying to confirm the time zone for the pen register, which is the whole reason for the report.
Sir, you said you didn't look at any text messages on the Celebrite download that had their content. You did testify to that just 2 minutes ago on cross-examination, recross, right?
Yes, I did not review the content of the message. I was looking at the date and time.
Okay. Okay, so you didn't study it, but you literally captured content, correct?
Yes,
And you put it in this email, correct?
in this report, yes.
Okay, and so just to be clear, you had the text messages, the content at your disposal, right? For the day of 9/2, isn't that right?
Yes,
Okay, so I know you say, well, I could be speculating, but the bottom line is, if you had wanted to, you could have just scrolled through and looked to see if it's spam or if it's substantive. Isn't that right? You could have, right?
if that had been a request made of me, I would have done it. However, I do work with what I'm requested to do.
I understand that. At this time, we're going to approach the stage proposed 374.
Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh, Raggy. Yes, he's cherry picking shit. Yeah, I had it all, but I chose not to look at it because they told me not to look at it, so I didn't look at it.
May I approach?
Yes, you may, sir. Yes, you may.
So I want you to take a look at this for a second.
Show Tejas. Show him. Do it. Show him.
I know
Do
that
it.
you didn't prepare this, but are you familiar roughly with what you're looking at here? Like what this is?
Timeline, yes, from the Celebrite extraction. Yes, I'm familiar with those. I've seen them many times.
Okay, and I'm gonna turn your attention
Yeah, Dixie, I call him Rob Schneider-Cuter.
to page 5, entries 12, 13, and 14. Based off of your cover letter that we just looked at, are you familiar with what you're looking at there?
Yeah, those are the 3 that I copied on my report.
Okay, does this appear to be a timeline extraction from Mr. Tellis's phone?
Correct, yes.
And this appears to be a fair and accurate depiction of data extracted from that phone from that day.
The report looks like a typical timeline report that I've seen. I'm assuming nothing was left out of it, so it appears to be a timeline report.
Okay. At this time, we're going to ask that the stage proposed 374 be admitted.
Oh, shit.
We could approach, please.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm assuming that what he's talking about getting admitted is the full Celebrite extraction, which I'm assuming most of you guys, if you're avid trial watchers, know that Celebrite is a tool that law enforcement uses and to extract data, including shit that you thought that you deleted from your phone. It's never really deleted. It's all there. It's buried deep, deep, deep in the memory of your phone. But Celebrite does an amazing job. I think it's in the 90% recovery range in terms of pulling everything that you think that you've deleted, whether it's text messages, whether it's certain searches, Google searches, anything. It pulls it all out. So I think they're trying to get in
It just
this
lets you know
report.
whether you deleted it or not.
What do you mean?
talk about Reed.
Oh, right. Or it was like an auto delete. Yeah. Allie's always gonna slip back into. Yeah, that's what Allie was saying. Gabby.
Objection submitted.
So. If I could, I'm gonna remove this staple just to make it a little easier to read. Well, I'll just leave it. Well, let me, may I approach for a second? I want to show you page 2. This first entry point's kind of obscured,
Oh, there he is.
but they have categories here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Only guilty man in Shawshank.
So for example, this appears to be the 4th entry. There's a 4, but the staple seems to be blocking the numbers. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So if we're looking at this here, this entry here is from, if you could tell us, what time in the morning is that coming from?
1:31, or excuse me, 1:21 and 31 seconds a.m.
And if you look at this category here in the 3rd column, what is it denoting?
Incoming?
And if the 2nd column is telling us what type of data this is?
Yes, it's
And then
email.
for this entry, what is it?
Email.
All right.
Yeah, this is definitely the Celebrite extraction.
Whoop, did I just turn that off?
Yeah, you did. Hey, what happened? What happened?
I broke the overhead.
Oh, you broke it. You killed the Elmo. You killed the Elmo.
I'm turning to page 5. If you could just
Super blurry.
Not having much luck here. Okay.
What? Did you guys?
Looking at this
Pickles,
entry at the
yes, he
top
looks
of the
exactly
page,
like
you could
Rob
tell me
Schneider. I've
what
been
is
saying that
the
for days.
date and time there?
8:47 a.m.
Is this incoming or outgoing?
It looks like an incoming text message.
Okay, and it's categorized as an instant message, is that right?
Yes.
Who is the message from? I don't know if you can read it.
The phone number.
Actually, at this point, I would object. This has been admitted through a different witness. It was admitted absent objection. He was not called upon to read the contents of these. That was covered by law enforcement. So again, this is out of the
Oh
scope
shit!
of the direct. It's been addressed by the state. And it's
I don't know why we're doing a speaking objection. If you'd like to approach, we can.
Approachal. Let's go. You guys know what that means. It's time for some shots. See, the only thing, like over at Jay's house, we've got the shot emoji for the members. Over here, I don't think we have shot emojis. It's always a party at the bench. As long as you all know that. It's always a party at the bench. So, yeah, I mean, it's a valid objection unless he is intending on impeaching him, but it's beyond the scope, right? So when you guys hear that kind of objection beyond the scope, that means that he's going into an area that was not covered during direct examination. So when you hear a beyond the scope objection, that's literally saying, look, this dude's going into an area where we didn't get into it. So that means that he can't get into it. So that's what they're debating right now. I mean, the fact of the matter is that they got this report, which will have any text messages, the actual content of the messages themselves in the report, which the jury can review when they're deliberating. So if there's anything icky for little Bobby Tejas, then, you know, the jury's going to see it. I mean, the defense certainly seems to not want to get into the content of the text messages. It appears that way, doesn't it? I mean,
So, at 8:47, who sends Mr.
prosecution won that one.
It's from 702-672-8556, and the name on the contacts is Olivia Tellis.
Okay, so that's at 8:47.
Hey, are you on your way to
and the
kill
request
Jeff?
is what?
The message, what
Yeah.
it says?
Yep.
Can I go to Croquet Club today? It ends around 4.
All right, I'd like to read the next entry, how quickly
Okay.
is there a response? What's the time of the response, sir?
8:48 and 6 seconds AM.
So the owner of the phone responds, is that correct? Based on this entry? It's from who? Olivia Tellis or the owner?
From the owner of the phone to Olivia Tellis.
And what's the answer?
Okay, go ahead.
So within a minute, the owner of the phone responds, correct?
Yes,
Okay. If you could read the next incoming instant message. Is this from Olivia again?
it's from Olivia at 8:48 and 19 seconds AM.
Okay. And then there's a response, right? All right, thank you, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Now we see there's another incoming email, is that right?
Correct.
At the top of this document, do we see another incoming email?
Correct.
And I'm going to try to maybe zoom out just a little bit to make it a little bit easier. Now we see entry number 17. This is a lot easier to see over here. Entry number 17. There is another incoming instant message, correct?
Correct.
We have, and it appears to be maybe like almost like a spam message or something like that, correct?
I haven't read it, so
Okay.
I can take the time to read it if you like.
It's okay. Looking at entry 18, it's another incoming message. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's from Macy's. Is that right?
So again, I haven't read these, so I can sit down and read them to answer
Okay.
your questions.
Again, I object to his reading the messages. I mean, he was not brought in for that purpose. It was a location.
Are you gonna have a list?
No, I'm trying to just move it along. I mean, isn't it true? It says Macy's on there.
Again, so I haven't read them, so I don't know what it says.
Sir,
I can
understand,
take the
but
time to read
image
them
is
if you
right in
like.
front- I understand that, but the image is right in front of you.
Okay, so would you like me to read it? I haven't
Sure,
read the message.
go ahead.
Sounds like my dad's watching Moneyball.
Well, number 17, I don't see Macy's on there.
Sir, it's entry 18.
Oh, I think you were talking about 17.
No, it just
Oh.
says, it appears to be like a
Thanks, Lori.
Macy's spam
Appreciate
text,
that.
correct? Okay, you get
Yes.
25 to 6% off, right? Something like that. Additionally, entry number 19, there seems to be another incoming instant message, isn't that right?
Yes, they're actually just native messages, not instant messages.
Okay, and I was only basing that off of this column here saying instant message. What's the difference between native message and instant message?
Native messages are when you use your phone's native text message application. Instant messages typically are associated with iPhones, where one iPhone communicates with another iPhone, and the message goes through Apple. For Celebrite purposes, they bunch them all together under the category instant messages. But again, if you look at the source, it says native messages.
And to be clear, Mr. Tellis' phone is a Google Pixel phone, isn't that right?
Correct.
All right. Moving on to page 7. There seems to be a text message incoming from a number. Can you please read out what that number is?
Okay, can you pull
Sure,
it down just
I
a little bit?
apologize, yeah.
Okay, it's another message incoming.
Okay. It indicates that it's a pending assignment, is that correct?
It says caseworker pending assignments. Again, I haven't read the message.
Moving here, there's another, the next one is what, an email that comes in?
An email, correct.
We have another incoming message from 855-712-0964, is that correct?
Correct.
We have another incoming text message from 702-858-1693, is that right?
Correct.
There then is a second message from the exact same number, isn't that right?
I'm sorry, I'm seeing
Entry
one.
number 24 appears to be a second native message from 702-858-1693. Is that
Well,
correct?
they're dated the same time, so I believe it's the same message we're looking at.
Okay.
There's two images.
There's 2 entry points on this report, is that right?
Correct.
All right. And then there appears to be a call, is that correct? An incoming call.
Correct. There's an incoming call.
And what is the significance of the 00000?
There was no duration on the call, so someone that called and
Not picked up.
not picked up.
Moving to page 9. Now we're at about 10:49 a.m. Apparently we have an incoming email. Is that correct?
Correct.
We have another incoming call, correct, at 11:16.
Yes,
Again, it has the 000, so that means that call wasn't answered. Isn't that right?
not answer correct.
We have another incoming email from Samsung. Is that right?
Yes,
That's at 11:30 in the morning.
11:28.
11:28. I'm sorry. Moving on to page 9. Appears to be some type of calendar entry. Moving to entry number 30, there's another incoming email. Is that correct?
Correct.
It appears to be coming from Peacock or NBC. Would that be fair?
Yes,
Peacock TV, right? It's not their subscriber. They're like the streaming service. There's a
Make sure you
calendar
watch
appointment
the
that
new
pops up here. Is
Scott
that right?
Peterson
Correct.
doc.
We
Anybody
have,
watch that yesterday?
a user
I did.
account, something regarding Clark County
Doing a
Sheriff.
live
Is
on
that right?
shit.
correct.
We have another incoming call coming in at 1:20:29. Isn't that right?
Yes,
Is that phone call answered?
not in the Celebrate report now.
Okay. By 1:20, there's another call log at 1:21. Is that right?
I can't see that far down.
Understood. Sorry.
Yes, there's the call at 1:21.
And there's an instant message that's incoming as well. Is that right?
Correct,
And it's at 1:21:50. Is that right?
correct.
Turning to page 11. We have another incoming text message. Is that right?
Correct,
As of 1:21:53, we have another incoming text message. Is that right?
correct,
At 1:22:37, we have another incoming text message.
correct,
At 1:26, we have another incoming text message. Is that right?
correct.
And then at 2:05, we have an outgoing text message, correct?
I can't see the bottom of the
Sorry
page.
about that. We have an outgoing text message at that point, right?
At 2:05, yes,
Okay, and just to be clear, that first text message comes in from that number, 702-325-2821 at 1:26, isn't that correct?
correct.
And we don't get a response until 2:05 PM, isn't that right?
Yes, correct,
Responding to that same number, isn't that right?
yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions from this witness.
I can have that. Sure. Mr. Rivera, there have been a number of questions concerning the events of September 2nd, where the state had asked you that people kept trying to reach out to Mr. Tellis.
For
and
real.
There was no response, correct?
Correct,
Remember the
very
testimony
parched.
that you had given that these could have been automated? That
Correct.
Could be data text, things of that nature.
correct.
That's pretty much confirmed what you had said, has it not?
Yes, a lot of those seem to be junk.
They're junk,
Yes,
automated junk, fair to say?
yes,
So again, that he's trying to be reached out and he's not responding because he's supposedly, or the inference is he's doing something nefarious. How often do you respond to junk messages?
All the
I
time.
don't. I just put them in the junk folder and delete.
So it's fair to say on the morning and early afternoon of September 2nd, he was receiving a lot of junk messages
It appears that way, yes,
and he wasn't responding to them, correct?
correct,
So that's consistent with what your testimony has been.
yes.
If I could have this brought up, it's currently on the laptop. It's the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint, please. And this will go back to the jury. Again, this just confirms there was a bunch of junk messages they were receiving on that morning.
Correct.
You were asked to review the phone contents and the activity to determine a pattern of behavior. Fair to say?
A pattern of locations where the phone is located at various times.
Correct. And the testimony and the data that you've been provided has been consistent with that request.
Correct.
There were a number of questions concerning the gym based upon your review of August, at least. There was activity, the location activity, which is what you're testifying today concerning.
Yes.
It's consistent. There were visits to that gym.
Yes, the gym is definitely a location where the phone could have been.
And on September 2nd, 2022, about noon, there was the data that you reviewed was consistent with that phone being in the area.
Correct.
In reference to the media locations, again, we were asked concerning the media locations, the significance of that. There was these inferences that somehow he was turning off his phone to avoid detection. It appears that for the year of 2022, these media locations concerning your analysis of the phone were fairly consistent. I mean, we have a big month in January.
Yes, the media locations are consistent. And as far as the phone being on or off, we have a lot of different records that show activity on the phone through the pen register, the various T-Mobile mediation data sessions, timing events. So when you have activity recorded with tower information, the phone is typically on. So you can have a gap in calls made. It doesn't mean the phone is turned off. That's a big assumption to make.
Okay, in fact, on the lower location, the middle location, we actually have a media location, data location on one in September, correct?
Correct.
The month that this crime is alleged to have occurred, fair to say?
Correct.
Whereas the other months, we don't have anything.
Correct.
And if we were to follow this line of reasoning that this was turned off to hide some activity, that would kind of contradict that idea, wouldn't it?
Yes. With that theory, it was off on the previous months when nothing was going on.
And again, concerning the contents of these messages that we have received, there is nothing that you have reviewed or you're aware of that the actions on this phone, this receipt of these automated messages was in any way inconsistent with other months. You weren't asked to review that, were you?
No, it was not.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
And one brief question based off that last. Okay. So you remember how he asked you about, let's talk about that theory if the phone is turned off, would these text messages be inconsistent with that? And you had indicated yes, correct?
That is consistent with it being
It'd
on?
be inconsistent.
Inconsistent, correct.
Right. But it would be consistent if you just left your phone at home, right?
Yeah, again, all I testify is where the phone is. I'm not testifying as to who had the phone.
Right. Because if you left your phone on in your house, you could go wherever you needed to go and no one would be able to track your movements through your phone, correct?
Correct.
And additionally, people could still be trying to reach out to you, right?
In theory, you could, yes.
Right. So you picture, messages from your daughter could still show up on your phone. Messages from your wife could still show up, or calls from your wife could still show up on the phone, right?
Correct.
But if you're not at home, you're not able to answer any of those messages, correct?
That would be correct.
And just to be clear, when we look at his phone from 8:48 to 2:05, there's nothing outgoing from Mr. Tellis's phone on the day that Mr. Gehrman is murdered. Isn't that correct?
That is correct,
No
yes.
further questions.
Just in response, but the majority of those messages were automated.
Correct.
No further questions. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, definitely smelling lunch break. And then I anticipate might have one more witness in front of him, but He's going on today. He is definitely going on today.
Received a question from a juror. It's been marked as court's exhibit number 18. Is there any methods of taking photos with the cell phone that would not show up on the media?
Jury
location
question.
map?
Sir, can you repeat that one more time?
Is there any methods of taking photos with a cell phone that would not show up on a media location map?
Yes. Yeah, there definitely is ways. If you turn the location services off on your cell phone, then you can take photographs and no location will be recorded. So the media locations are only active when your location services are turned on.
Any follow-up from the defense? The state?
Yeah, just very briefly. And you're familiar of the term the cloud, right?
Correct.
And you're also familiar with caches, correct?
Correct.
And so you could, for example, take a photograph. I don't know, I'm standing here, but you could take a picture using your camera. Maybe you could delete it, but it could go up into the cloud and it still may be captured, correct?
You can take a photograph and go up to the cloud, store it there, and you can delete it from your phone and still be stored on the cloud.
And it may not, when it's up in the cloud, it may not have, for example, location data. Would that be accurate?
It depends on which cloud service you're using. Some will strip location out of it, some leave it on there.
And sometimes if images get stored in a cache pathway, that also may not have the location information. Would that be fair?
Well, images in a cache file are temporary images. Those will never have location on them.
Okay. So it can be like you took a picture, maybe you could delete that picture, but it was cached, so it's stored away over there. So you're not going to have location information, but at some point that image was in that phone. Would that be fair?
I want to make sure we're talking the same language. When a phone takes an image, takes a photograph, you create one original image, and then you're going to find multiple smaller versions on either a cache file or in other directories of the phone, because the phone will utilize different size images. So only one is an original with latitude, longitude. The others are copies that typically don't have any metadata with regards to location.
Right. So if you found an image in a Celebrite report, and it says the pathway comes from a cache, you would agree that that's not the original image. That's just a stored away, maybe smaller image that was produced by that phone at some point. Would that be correct?
Yeah, a cache file can be a smaller image of the phone, or it could be if you go on a website, this stores images from a website. So those are all going to cache files.
For example, like Google Maps, right? If you go to Google Maps, it might cache the images that you're looking at maybe when you're in Street View. Would that be fair?
When you go on any online service,
So that includes
it would
Google
create cache images. And again, those would not have any location information, would not have date that it was taken.
It's not what I
They're just
asked.
Images. Again, if they're from a website, and they're just stored in the temporary cache files.
But it
And
captures
a lot
it.
of times with those cached images, they may have in Celebrite an indication that they're modified versus maybe an original image, it might say created. Would that be correct?
No, that created, modified, and accessed have nothing to do with when they were taken.
Okay.
Those dates are only when they're written to the internal memory or when they're looked at in the internal memory. The date that a photograph is taken is stored in the metadata as a date captured.
Okay, so the key is look to see that pathway. If it's cached, you're probably not going to have location services. Is that correct?
On a cache file, you will not.
Thank you.
To follow up, turning your attention to what's on the screen concerning this media locations app. Again, the questions concerning whether it was on or off. We're making assumptions. Are you able to give any opinion as to whether that was on or off, or there just wasn't use of the media locations aspect of this phone?
No, all we can tell from this is that in January, September, and March, there were images that had locations. Again, the other months, there's none to speculate that it was location services turned off or something else. It's speculation.
It's nothing more, speculation, and there's no indication of any intent based upon the review of the user or the owner based upon your review of this information before you.
No, not based on just this record alone.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything else for this witness? Mr. Hamner, anything else?
No, you're right.
Okay, thank you very
Oh,
much. for your
thank God.
testimony
Thank
today.
God.
You step down. You are excused from your subpoena. At this time, we're going to recess.
guilty
for
man
lunch.
in Shawshank.
Recess.
Only guilty
You're
man in
admonished not to
Shawshank.
discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or the means of communication, or social media. Read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case. Do any research, consult dictionaries, the internet, or reference materials. Do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or form or express any opinion regarding the case until it's finally submitted to you. And we'll start again at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. All rise for the 3:30.
3 p.m. All right. All right, y'all. So yeah, super long witness there. Way too many redirects and recrosses. It seemed to go on forever. You know, a lot of judges don't allow that kind of like recross. Like maybe you get one bite, but this like constant like oh, it's a lot. It got boring. I didn't even know what the hell they were sniveling about. Either of them actually trying to make some point that's going to be completely and totally lost on the jury. If we couldn't figure it out, you know who else couldn't figure it out? The jury. They don't know. They don't care. All right, you guys. I have portaled you. I have redirected you. I'm going to end this stream. I've already created the new stream. To all you new folks out there from Melanie Little's channel, who we love, if you're just new in general, thank you so much for hanging with us. We hope you'll come back. We have an amazing chat here, as I hope you've seen. Our people are the best. They are just the best. It's delightful. It's really delightful to hang in our chat. You're never going to walk away from our chat feeling like you need to go take a shower. That is, and if you're in some other chats out in the YouTube universe, there's a lot of spots where you need to go feel like, oh man, I got to wash this filth off. So we love you guys for hanging in there. Mods, love you guys. I know you've been doing double duty. You guys who were hanging with Jay this morning, thank you a million times over. And please, on the way out, if you could like, share, and subscribe. That would mean so much to us. We love building the channel. We love getting this little channel out to the world because we want to become a channel where everyone knows where we're at, because we think we bring you some pretty good content, and we hope that we keep you guys entertained. So thank you guys so much. We will see you in, I think, 2 and 2 at 2. Ciao.
Hot sun.